can do it, and I really do. That's why I am training in the mountains in Bolivia, getting ready mentally and physically, because Everest is 8,800 meters high, and we are going to need all the strength we have to make it.
Very good luck, and I hope you make it.
Bueno, sí tengo que cumplirlo, ¿no? Porque
I have to make it because we women are powerful, and we have shown here in Bolivia what we can do.
bueno, en Bolivia, que las mujeres podemos.
That's all from Assignment. I'm Jane Chambers. My editor in London was Penny Murphy.
That was Assignment from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho, and this is CBC Radio 1. Have a great day.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, and we're live downtown at our CBC studios. Thanks for being with us on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, and on YouTube this morning. Corey Funk is in. Thank you, Corey. Corey's our director and just passing us, the show today. Here it is. Corey's also covering the commute. Also, good morning to Abby Adeyemi, who's here covering the commute covering the weather forecast, and also covering everything on the controls. And Mr. Darren Marash behind the controls of our YouTube stream if you're watching the show streamed live there. Wherever you are in Manitoba, thanks for being with us on CBC's Morning Show. We're on air till 8:37 a.m. Today, a mix of sun and cloud, clearing this morning, windy like yesterday, gusting 30 to 50, and should calm down early this afternoon, though. A high today of 19 degrees, so we return to double-digit daytime highs. Let's start officially the program at 3 minutes to 6 now with Heather Wells, who's going to plug us into the news. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we'll be watching the Middle East this morning, and you'll hear more coming up on World Report. But a U.S.-backed plan for a ceasefire in Gaza could be implemented within hours. There is celebrating both in Tel Aviv and in Gaza, so we'll take you there coming up as well. A human smuggler arrested during a traffic stop in Morden has pleaded guilty and has been sentenced to 3 years behind bars. We're going to hear that story coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, coming up around the regions today, weather-wise, I mentioned Winnipeg. Always like to start your day with a bit of this. Brandon, mix of sun and cloud for you. Your high is going to be 20 today. And then up in Thompson, mainly cloudy, 30% chance you could see some showers and a high of 11. So cooler in the north still, but still pretty okay. Let's get to the show. We will, of course, have analysis of what's happening in the Middle East today. We're also going to seek to get some local reaction to this. So stay tuned for all of that. Plus, two other stories we've been following. Winnipeg students are on today. They say the city isn't boring, but there's a lot of room for improvement, like more frequent events and incentives to come downtown and more venues to party. We're going to hear more about what they'd like to bring to Winnipeg's nightlife. It's been a bit of a series we've been doing about our downtown. And then in the first hour of the program, how trees are helping a Winnipeg artist to see the city through a different lens. And she is actually using her paintbrush to do this as well. So we're going to hear more about her love of trees and how she's passing it along. And we'll have an update on AI jobs too. Right now, the World Report.
Today on Q. Ken Casey and the band Dropkick Murphys started to notice how the political divide in America was showing up in their own audience. So they decided to address it head on stage.
He is a good sport. He's taking the shirt off. We're taking crime off the streets.
That led to a viral moment, and Ken Casey will be here to tell you about it.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. There is celebration in the streets of Tel Aviv this morning. U.S. President Donald Trump says Israel and Hamas have agreed to phase 1 of a peace deal in Gaza, and they're expected to sign it today. In the West Bank, this Palestinian man is expressing cautious optimism. He's waiting to hear what's in the deal. Here's what we know so far. Trump says Hamas will release all 48 remaining hostages very soon, and Israel will withdraw its troops to an agreed-upon line. Hamas is saying the deal will also allow humanitarian aid into Gaza, and a number of Palestinians will be released from Israeli jails. For more Israeli reaction, let's go to Crystal Gomansing in Tel Aviv. And Crystal, what is happening where you are?
At Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, there is singing. People are milling around. There are Israeli flags. And there is a sense of joy and calm and overwhelming relief. People have been at the square for so many hours already, talking about the moment that they heard the news, the joy they felt, and then the pause, the relief, the fear of what happens next. Will those hostages be released? Will you see all 48, or will only some of them come across? We did hear from Hamas officials saying that they didn't know of some of the whereabouts of some of the remains of the hostages. So while we are expecting within about 72 hours for Hamas to release all of the hostages without any public ceremonies, we don't have a clear indication yet of just how many people, how many families will get that sense of relief that they have been waiting for the past 2 years. But right now, there is this beautiful sense of relief as people sing and dance and smile. We have heard from a number of families who are part of the Missing and Hostage Family Forum. They talk about relief. They also are expressing deep gratitude to President Donald Trump for his efforts from the United States with these negotiations. The next step in this process will be the Israeli Security Cabinet meeting later this afternoon. And then, of course, the government will meet to approve this deal. And then we expect to see this first phase of the deal that was agreed to, the hostage release, the exchange of Palestinian prisoners, all to start unfolding rather rapidly. But here at Hostage Square, there is a calm, joyous feeling. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Tel Aviv.
In Gaza this morning, singing, a sound not heard much in the past 2 years. The CBC's Anna Cunningham has more on the reaction to the peace agreement among Palestinians.
Singing, dancing and clapping. As word spreads in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, Palestinians took to the streets. Crowds gathering near Nasser Hospital, an area that has seen numerous Israeli strikes. Khaled Shah describing this as a historic moment. Wael Radwan thanked God and the US President Donald Trump, saying this was a joyful moment. All the Gaza Strip is happy, says Abdulmajid Abrabo. All the Arab people, all of the world is happy with the ceasefire and the end of bloodshed, he adds. In the camps where thousands of Palestinians have fled to, many having moved multiple times during this war, illuminated by lamplight, the dancing and singing continued into the night. Elsewhere in Gaza, reaction from aid workers.
Is this the moment? It's incredibly quiet outside, says
James Elder from UNICEF.
It's the middle of the night. People haven't heard yet, but also it's incredibly quiet from the skies. Come on!
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has welcomed the announcement that Israel and Hamas have reached the first phase of a ceasefire deal, saying he hopes the efforts serve as a prelude to achieving a sustainable political solution. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is among world leaders welcoming the agreement. Carney's post on social media says peace feels attainable after years of intense suffering. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer calls this a first crucial step.
This is a moment of profound relief that we felt around the world, but particularly for the hostages, their families, and for the civilian population of Gaza.
Kaja Kallas, the EU's foreign affairs chief, describes the agreement as a major diplomatic accomplishment. The UN's Antonio Guterres is promising to step up relief for people in Gaza. Voters in Newfoundland and Labrador are heading to the polls on Tuesday, and last night the leaders of the three major political parties took to the debate stage. As Heather Gillis reports, the new Churchill Falls deal with Quebec got a lot of attention.
All three leaders, please. Liberal leader John Hogan, Progressive Conservative Tony Wakeham, and NDP leader Jim Dinn squared off during the only live televised leaders debate of Newfoundland and Labrador's 2025 provincial election. From immigration to ferries to deficit spending, one issue permeated it all: the Churchill Falls hydro deal with Quebec. It's a complex and pivotal agreement in a province with a history of bad power deals. The new one aims to make amends and develop more power. Liberal leader John Hogan says the province won't let billions of dollars and thousands of jobs slip by.
Why can't we say to Quebec, we want a good deal with you that benefits Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, not only on Gull Island, but on Churchill Falls, so we can get the money we deserve now and not wait until 2041, when, by the way, again, there might very well not be a deal on the table.
PC leader Tony Wakeham says he'll move ahead with the deal, but wants an independent review and a binding referendum.
Quebec are dancing in the streets right now, and the press is telling them to keep their voices down because they don't want people to realize how good a deal it is for Quebec and bad for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Meanwhile, NDP leader Jim Dinn wants more transparency.
Because from my point of view, there can be no partisan politics in this.
Election day is October 14th. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
The list of people who want to lead the federal NDP is growing. Tenille Johnston officially launched her bid last night. She is a social worker and city councillor from Campbell River in British Columbia.
They'll continue to fight for free post-secondary education, for healthcare access for all of our rural and remote communities, affordable and accessible housing for every Canadian, and climate projects that defend and regenerate our environment.
A news release says Johnston is the first Indigenous woman to seek the party's top job. She was the NDP candidate for North Island Powell River in 2025 in the federal election, but she lost to Conservative Aaron Gunn. It was a great night for Toronto Blue Jays fans. Canada's only Major League Baseball team is one step closer to the World Series. They beat the New York Yankees to move on to the American League Championship Series. It's been almost a decade since the Jays have advanced this far. From Yankee Stadium, Thomas Stagler has more on the game and the excitement.
Guerrero shoots it down the right field line, and that's a fair ball.
When red-hot Blue Jays slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. drove in a run to open scoring, it was the first sign Yankees fans would be in for a disappointment. Toronto racked up a dozen hits, outscoring their rivals 5-2 and knocking out the Yankees in 4 games. As the Jays partied with loud music and champagne in the clubhouse, Guerrero vowed to keep leading them even further.
When you celebrate, you want to continue.
Canadian fans who made the trip to New York thanked the team while basking in Toronto's first playoff series victory since 2016.
Oh, we're feeling great. Very excited. I'm excited for the next round. We got to keep the bats going, but I'm confident in the bullpen now.
Already, manager John Schneider is looking ahead to Game 1 of the American League Championship Series on Sunday.
It's really nice to go home and know that we're playing at home, and it's nice to kind of sort through what we think is the best way to try to beat whoever we're going to play.
The Jays will face either Seattle or Detroit in the next round, with a trip to the World Series now just 4 wins away.
And they are going to the American League Championship Series.
Thomas Dagg, CBC News, New York.
Breaking news, the Nobel Prize for Literature has just been announced.
The Nobel Prize in Literature for 2025 is awarded to the Hungarian author Laszlo Krasznahorkai for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that in the midst of apocalyptic terror reaffirms the power of art.
This is the 118th Nobel Prize for Literature. It has been awarded to just 18 women so far. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Welcome to Wednesday morning. Whoops, look at me. Thursday morning. Even better. This is Information Radio. You're on CBC, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. So you just heard the Jays are moving on, eliminating the Yankees last night. We're going to talk to the former Gold Eyes coach and president of Softball Canada, Scott Nealis, who I was watching last night. He's going to join us at 6:40 with some reaction from his perspective here. Also, this hour, how trees are helping a Winnipeg artist see the city from a different lens. So stay tuned. We'll talk to her in a moment. And then a little bit later, you might have been retaining that on our business news lately. We've been talking a lot about gold. Gold prices have been hitting record highs rise. Investors all around the world are looking for safe places to park their money over concerns about continuing economic and political uncertainty. So we have an economist on this hour about where that trend might be heading and whether or not it's something that the average person should be thinking about. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells in our news center with headlines.
Good morning. Well, some members of Manitoba's legal community want politicians to stay in their own corner when it comes to cases before the courts. This week, Premier Wap Kinew said he agreed with Crown lawyers granting bail to an Ontario trucker would endanger confidence in the justice system. The accused had been released after being charged in a deadly car crash last year near Altona. Chris Gamby at the Criminal Defence Lawyers Association says the Premier's comments undermine independence in the justice system. More than a week after Manitoba's health minister apologized for the rollout of a new home care system and promised changes by this month, a Winnipeg man says he's still experiencing inconsistent and untimely care. We'll hear about that as well in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Into the forecast we go with Abby Adiyemi.
Good morning, Marcy. We're looking at most of the regions waking up to temperatures between 4 and 13 degrees across the province this morning. And by the afternoon, we'll see them warm up towards the 20s later in the day, and then we'll see about 11 degrees in the northern part of the province. Right now, Winnipeg, it is 12 degrees. It is clear outside, sunshine again. Will hold strong through the day with just few passing clouds and a gentle southwesterly breeze. This afternoon, we'll see highs around 19 degrees for Winnipeg, and more clear conditions will stay tonight. In the other part of the south, we're seeing 10 to 13 degrees, while up north, we're just seeing about 9 degrees up there for now. Winnipeg, we are around 12, aiming for a high of 19.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk is our first look at the commute today. Hello.
Hello, and yes, so far it is a quiet commute, but as we know, that seems to change as the morning goes on. So far this week has been the trend. So if you're out there, you see something going on, if you're walking, biking, driving, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, let's start this morning with a question. What can we actually learn from Winnipeg trees? It's a question that Mish Panting is currently trying to answer. Since the summer, she's been researching all different trees that can be found in Winnipeg, in our city. In her latest project, she has a collection of photos and drawings, and she shares some of what she learned. The only catch is you have to find the art to see it. So Panting has scattered copies of her zine in many free community libraries all across the city. And she's with us up early via Zoom this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. So tell us a little bit more about it, what inspired you to create your, well, they're the little zines that you're hiding all over town.
Yeah, these little guys. I am an artist who tends to work in kind of long stints of projects. And so I tend to get deep into research and kind of sometimes that means making one big work. In this case, this summer, I thought it would be fun just to start with something small. So zines have long been a way that artists can very easily share their work, trade them. It's just, kind of an easy to access in some ways point for art. And so I'd never done something like that. I wanted to try something like it, and printing these little books on recycled paper, of course, felt like a fun way to kick off the project.
Why trees, Mish? Tell us about your love of trees.
Sure. I mean, I've always loved trees and nature. I grew up in rural Manitoba, so I just was in natural environments a lot. But living in Winnipeg as well, I spent a lot of time walking around, and I love looking at trees. I think they are one of the things that make Winnipeg a beautiful place to live. Looking at them brings me a sense of relaxation, noticing things about them. They're beautiful. They cool the streets. When you're in a forest, like I think of how people build cathedrals to communicate reverence. And I feel like being in a great forest is gives you that same feeling. You're just looking up and going, wow.
In terms of the trees that you've documented, is each and every little zine different, or are they copies of the same? And I was looking as people can watch our show on YouTube as well, so they would have seen the little book you were holding up and seen different examples of trees. Is each one the same, and how many are sort of represented? How many pieces of art are in each little booklet?
Sure. So I made little bundles of 4. So all of the bundles have the same 4 zines in them. Some of them have drawings, some of them have photos, some of them have little photo collages, and they're all based on trees that I either photographed or drew a picture of in Winnipeg.
Beyond being beautiful, you also say, I know you shared on Instagram a video about your love of this and showing some of your work. You say trees have a lot to teach us. What do you mean by that?
Sure. I mean, I feel like I'm just starting to learn some of the things that trees are teaching us. One of the things I was really drawn to initially was the way that trees move through time. In the wild, they live a lot longer than we do, 100 years, 200 years, even longer, depending on the type of tree. And there's a real kind of slowness of the way that they move. That kind of responding to the seasons. I think that there's, we don't live as long, so it makes sense we're going to move a little faster, of course. But kind of responding to the seasons, taking things slower is certainly something I feel like I've learned from trees. And another thing I learned recently, which I find really inspiring, was from this book called The Hidden Life of Trees. So the author there lives in Germany, and he talks a lot about beech trees. And one of the things he talks about is beeches are shedding their seeds pretty much every year. And they live 100, 200 years easy. And so out of all of those years of shedding their seeds, they're hoping to produce one offspring that makes it to adulthood. And when I think of how hard you can take a failure or not getting something, kind of just remembering how other things in nature try anyway, it kind of helps you take it a little lighter, I think.
That's a great metaphor. I like that. I'll carry that one with me. What do you like about the idea of putting your work in mini libraries and because you won't see people enjoying your work effectively unless you're sneaking around.
I'm not that sneaky. I think getting art out there is kind of almost a separate thing from making the art. And I feel like getting the art out there can be one of the things that is tricky sometimes. When I thought about the free little libraries, I was thinking about how does a tree do this? Or what's a tree version of doing this? And trees share resources with each other. Trees are very kind of communally oriented that way. And so those free little libraries to me are such a clear example of that same sort of behavior. You're sharing resources with people that you may or may not know, people that are around you. And I just thought, oh, how delightful would it be to open up a free little library and see a little piece of art in there and decide whether you wanted to take it home with you or not. So that was the thought behind it.
Before you go this morning, I understand this is also the first step in what you hope is going to be a larger project. So tell me a little bit about what you're planning for the next step.
Sure. So I'm a lens-based artist. My work always kind of begins with the camera. I also, I've made these zines. I tend to really love making installation projects, so making photos more immersive. And right now I'm in the MAWA Mentorship Foundation program. MAWA is an organization that supports women and gender diverse artists. And with that program, I'm hoping that I'll get to do an end show. And so I'm already thinking about an installation that would be tree related. And that feels really exciting.
Well, thank you very much for being up early with us and telling us about this, especially now if folks are out and about in the city and they happen to find one of your zines, then they'll have the deeper appreciation for it as well. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
That's Mish Panting with us, local artist. You just might find one of her little zines all filled with beautiful trees in a little local library box.
There are many people who bring success, innovation, accomplishment, and charity to our community. We'd like you to help us meet some of the best. CBC Future 40 will honor 10 Manitobans under 40 making a difference. Help us discover the inspiring people in our province by nominating a shining star in your community today. For details, visit cbc.ca/future40mb.
So, should we all run out and buy gold? Let's find out. Moshe Lander is with us next on the show, senior lecturer in economics at Concordia University. Hey there, Moshe.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well, thanks.
Good. So, so is the price of gold. Prices per ounce are hitting these record level highs. We've been reporting on this, of course. Investors are looking for safe havens to put their money in the face of uncertainty. Let's start with the price of an ounce of gold right now. What is that in Canada?
It's about $4,000 US per troy ounce. So when you're measuring metals, we don't take the traditional pound and divide it into 16 ounces. We divide it into 12. $4,000 in Canadian money these days is around $5,600 Canadian. So these are record numbers. It's a little bit down from yesterday. But if you invested 6 months ago, you've made about 25%. If you invested a year ago, you've made about 55%. If you invested 20 years ago, you've made about 1,000%, better than any stock market out there.
And so people are going to be listening, and right away you think, an ounce. So do I have an ounce in my house if I melt down my jewelry, or how does this all work?
Yeah, an ounce is surprisingly a large amount. I think that when I think of ounces, I'm always thinking in terms of how many ounces is my steak. But, an ounce of gold is a pretty substantial amount. If grandma was telling you that, that engagement ring is solid gold, I'd check very carefully. You don't want one of those antique roadshow moments where it turns out that it's just gold leaf on top of nickel and it's $1.99 at the local Dollarama. But even if you have it, if you're going to sell it for $5,000, hey, $5,000 is great, especially these days. But that family heirloom is no longer in the family, and it's no longer an heirloom, and it can easily be melted into something else. So once it's gone, it's gone. Think really careful about, how you're stripping down your house and your motherboard on your computer and things like that to look for that gold.
What's your economist take on the attraction of gold, and also whether or not right now it is a safe haven investment in this uncertain time?
So gold is universal. You can go anywhere in the world and people are going to recognize gold as gold. The thing with Canadian money is that it's only money here in Canada. It's why when foreigners come and they look at our money, they make the joke that it's monopoly money. If you think about it, what makes that purple piece of paper twice as much as the blue piece of paper? It's just because we trust it. And so it doesn't have that universality. Gold has the added advantage, too, among a lot of the metals in that it doesn't corrode, it doesn't have an expiration date, it doesn't deteriorate. So that makes it a much better store of value than, say, maybe your money is. The thing with gold is that it's seen as that safe haven in times of economic or political uncertainty. And I think we could agree that the first quarter of this century has been almost continuous, one crisis after another, whether it's of an economics form or a political form. War, famine, that type of thing drives people to safe havens. And gold has been that for centuries, and because it's universal, that store of value, it's what makes it much easier to go grab these days.
So before I ask you about the global economy and the impact there regarding gold, you just said, 55% year over year, I think was the number if you invested in gold, more than any other stock, I think was your language. So should people be thinking, really thinking about changing where they invest? Or is this always how gold performs? Well, it's not always how gold performs. It's record highs. But I guess, is it more stable, these increases we're seeing in gold than in the past?
Yeah, so gold is really volatile. So that's the thing, is that if you don't have an actual expiration date and if you don't have a particular time frame when you need that money, it's probably good value. But that's the standard sort of risk and reward, that in exchange for getting those fantastic rewards, there's a huge amount of risk with it. And so gold is much more volatile than the stock market itself. So that's the trade-off that you're encountering. If you have a long time horizon, then okay, you can probably do better than the stock market. But you're going to have to ride those ups and downs. And there's a lot of stomach churning moments there where that gold price can tank in a way that the stock market never would. And if the stock market were to tank, there's kind of an implicit understanding that would the central bank jump in to cut interest rates to help things out? Or would there be a bailout like we saw about 15, 20 years ago? I don't know that you're going to see any of that stuff if the gold price were to plummet. And so that's one of those things that you really have to have the stomach for it. If you're looking to get into the gold game, maybe better to look a little bit at buying gold shares. There's lots of companies on the TSX that are in the gold business. That might be the type of thing then where it's a little more liquid and you have a little bit more of an off-ramp than actual gold itself.
And what about, if any, does the price of gold have, what effect, if any, rather, does the price of gold have on the global economy, just looking at the bigger picture?
Well, it depends on who you are. Are you a producer or a consumer? So in Canada, for example, we are the fourth largest producer of gold. I guess I shouldn't say producer, right? It's not like we're actually manufacturing this stuff. We're extracting it from the ground. But we are the fourth largest extractor. And we do it in a rather environmentally friendly way, as much as gold can be environmentally friendly in extracting it from the ground. So that's going to be very good for the Canadian economy, not just now, but also going forward, because we have this huge store of wealth that's underground. We're consumers of it. It's in the healthcare sector, the electronic sector, the technology sector. There's a good chance that your motherboard inside your computer has some element of gold in it, not enough to rip it apart, but it's there. So when the price of gold goes up, it's good for producers, but it's going to be bad for consumers because we're going to see that the price of our computers may be a little more expensive to cover that higher cost of gold that's embedded in it. A country like India, by contrast, is almost entirely consumer and not producer, and so it's going to work against them. So it's almost like this movement right now is benefiting the producers of gold at the expense of consumers, and it really just depends then on what your economy is made up of.
You were talking, Moshe, about going underground. I just want to remind listeners of something that was announced just in March of this year in Manitoba. So the government here announced that a new mine will create, they say, hundreds of jobs in the north. This is around Lynn Lake. So this is, they had a groundmaking ceremony. This is marking the beginning of construction there. This is for a new gold mine near that town. Is when you think about mining and gold and in our, what we have across Canada in terms of, gold deposits and such, where is it most plentiful? And when you see the impact on the economy and such, do the local economies beyond jobs and mining benefit? Because people might be looking at this and saying, oh, here in Manitoba, a project.
Yeah, so the gold deposits are primarily in the north and in the west. So like you said, in northern Manitoba, that would seem exactly the type of place that you would expect it to be. The way that it filters down to the local economy is a little more complicated then, right? You said that there's going to be jobs created, but are those jobs going to be the locals, or are they going to be people that are being imported? So in Alberta, where I'm traditionally based, right, we have a lot of people that are coming in from Newfoundland and Labrador to work a lot of the oil and gas installations up in the north of our province, and it's not necessarily the local population that's receiving the benefits. The spillover benefits, of course, are that as income is being earned, it's being spent, and so local businesses might get it as well. But the other thing that we've seen as well sometimes is that there's the potential risk for some of the chaos that comes with this rapid increase in economic development. If you don't have a lot of first responders and health and safety in place, sometimes those things can turn a little ugly. And if you don't have the proper response for it, and if you don't have the proper infrastructure in place to support it, it's the type of thing that doesn't show up in the economic data, but we know it's there as a social consequence of it. So it's something that needs to be factored in as well. It's great to have it in the ground, but do you have the infrastructure that's built around it to make sure that some of the benefits do go to the local economy, that locals are being trained to be able to have some of the jobs connected to it? And do you have people in place to make sure that everybody's going to live swimmingly? We don't have to look at even recent history. I think we've all done in Canadian history stories of the Yukon gold rush and some of the chaos that brought. That's not unique.
And we probably can compare it to when sites have been set up for big projects. I mean, I'm thinking about hydro development. This is going to be, by the way, 2 mine sites. A work camp projected to generate more than 600 construction jobs, but they're also going to be setting up, of course, places where people are going to be living. So to your point about what will the social impacts be? All right, lots to talk about and think about, Moshe. Thank you.
Anytime. That's
Moshe Lander with Senior Lecturer in Economics at Concordia University with a look at gold. We will look at the prices of other things and talk about business news after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's 12 degrees. It's good-looking early October day in Winnipeg. Mix of sun and clouds to start, then clearing. That strong south wind is going to ease up a bit this afternoon. Today's high, 19. A U.S.-backed plan for a ceasefire in Gaza could be implemented within hours. Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas have now agreed to a deal to finally end more than 2 years of war. U.S. President Donald Trump helped broker this deal and spoke last night with Fox News.
The whole world came together, to be honest. So many countries that you wouldn't have even thought of it. They came together. The world has come together around this deal. And that's something I would say that without that wouldn't happen.
Word of the ceasefire reached the streets of Gaza overnight. A young group of Palestinians celebrating in Han Yunis, breaking into song, cheering. The deal to end the fighting in Gaza and for Hamas to release the hostages came after 3 days of talks in Egypt. In Israel, they were also celebrating in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square. Families of the hostages singing a prayer for peace. U.S. President Trump will travel to Israel this weekend to mark the historic deal his administration helped to broker. You can hear the latest on this story as well as other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Here at home, backlash from the legal community over Premier Wapkinu's comments on a bail decision. It comes after an Ontario trucker charged in a fatal crash last year was released from custody. The accused left the country and avoided police for months before returning to Canada. He has no previous criminal record. This week, Wapkinu said he agreed with a Crown argument the release would endanger public confidence in the justice system. Chris Gamby at the Criminal Defence Lawyers Association of Manitoba says the Premier's comments were inappropriate.
It's sort of crossing some lines into what the judiciary does. The judiciary is the ones that are hearing the facts and making the decision. If the Crown prosecution doesn't agree with that, they do have a limited means of conducting a bail review.
The trucker had to give up his passport and is not allowed to drive. He also has to live at a specific address and report weekly to police in Manitoba. A Winnipeg man wants to know why he continues to experience inconsistent and untimely home care. Health Minister Uzoma Eseguera apologized last week for the rollout of a new home care system resulting in cancellations and delays. They said some changes already came into effect over the summer. Others would be reversed by October 1st. Gerald Cadman depends on 4 home care visits a day. In the last week, he says one worker didn't show up and a pair of others came earlier than scheduled.
I'm disappointed in the fact that it sounded like there would be a new era October 1st. That's what it sounded like to me. And twice in the first week, it didn't work.
The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority says it is adjusting shifts so more scheduling clerks are working during the busiest hours. A human smuggler arrested during a traffic stop in Morden has pleaded guilty. Jose Pablo Hilario Pimentel admitted trying to help Mexican nationals cross the U.S. border. Court heard this week Hilario Pimentel drove his passengers from Ontario before being stopped by police. They found 5 people wearing several layers of clothing. Some said they paid Hilario Pimentel thousands of dollars to get them across the border. His lawyer said people in Mexico coerced him into becoming a smuggler by threatening his family. In sentencing him to 3 years behind bars, the judge told Hilario Pimentel he could have made different choices that wouldn't have put him in that position. With time served, he is likely to spend about 5 more months in jail. The Crown says it's likely he will then be deported. Well, baseball fans are celebrating this morning.
Jeff Hoffman strikes out Cody Bellinger, and the Blue Jays have done it. They have knocked off the New York Yankees. They have won their first playoff series since 2016.
What an amazing game. So much tension. The Toronto Blue Jays winning Game 4 of the Division Series last night against the New York Yankees in New York. The final score 5-2. They now advance to the playoffs to face either Seattle or Detroit in the American League Championship Series, and that gets going on Sunday. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
We're going to hear from a fan this half hour who was in Toronto, actually, for the first part of that series, and it all closed out last night. So is he heading back? Now that there's more ball to come, we'll find out. So stay tuned. Right now, 6:35 a.m., and Abby Adiemi's here with our regional forecast.
Good morning once again. The south will be warming up close to 20 degrees this afternoon, while the north stays cooler near 10 degrees. Winnipeg right now, 12. Mostly clear outside. Expect sunshine, just a few passing clouds through the day with light southwest breeze, and we'll see highs near 19 degrees for the Red River Valley region today. Down in the Pembina Valley region, more than Winkler, all the way down to the U.S. border, we're looking at 9 degrees, and also another clear start in that part of the province. The sun takes over early, and then we'll see that gentle breeze, a high near 21 for that part of the province. In the Westman region, Brandon towards Nipawin, we're looking at 5 degrees at this time, warming to 20 this afternoon under sunny skies and light winds. In the Parkland region, Dauphin all the way traveling towards Roblin and Russell, we're looking at 14 degrees at this time. Sunshine on its way with a mild southwest breeze, highs around 18 degrees. Over in the Interlake region, Gimli and surrounding communities, we're looking at 11 degrees. Clear skies you have now. Sunshine stays strong through the day. Highs will be near 19 degrees. Now we look at the northern part of the province. The Flin-Flon surrounding communities starts near 8 degrees with sunshine and a slim chance of showers later in the day, warming up to about 11 degrees. Thompson is around 7 at this time, cloudy there. There's a slim chance of showers in the afternoon for that part of the province. We'll see highs around 11. Churchill is near 4 degrees and stays mostly cloudy for the rest of the day. Highs would be around 9 degrees. So all in all, Marcy, it's going to be calm, sunny there across the south into the central region, and a few clouds and cooler air in the northern part of the province. Right now, Winnipeg, we are looking at 12 or 13 degrees, depending on where you are.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk.
Quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues out there, but if you are walking, biking, driving, you want to tell me what you're seeing, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
22 minutes to 7 o'clock on Thursday morning here on CBC. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Let's turn to business news. Hallie Cotnam is here with our report, as she is every morning. Good morning, Hallie.
Good morning, Marcy.
So first up, you actually have a cautionary tale about runaway stocks.
Yeah, the S&P 500 climbed again yesterday to set its latest all-time high. The NASDAQ composite rose to its own record as well. It's all thanks to stocks riding the artificial intelligence wave. But now some heavy hitters are raising concerns about a potential AI investment bubble. Officials at the Bank of Canada saying there's a growing risk that this boom could go bust. It says stock market valuations are comparable to the peak of the 2000 dot-com bubble. In case you're too young to remember, when it burst, the NASDAQ shed more than 75% of its value, wiping out $5 trillion in market capitalization. So within a few hours of the Bank of England's warning, the head of the IMF spoke up as well, questioning whether the expectations people have of AI are out of whack. Financial experts are pointing to the market valuations that appear stretched way beyond anything tangible. For example, OpenAI doesn't yet turn a profit, but it's now the world's most valuable startup with a market valuation of $500 billion.
Then a story about the intersection of sports and business, actually. Are we talking about the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I wanted to squeeze in the Blue Jays into my business report this morning, Marcy. Huge economic benefits expected as Toronto heads into the American League Championship Series. Last year, New York City's mayor estimated that each postseason Yankee game was worth $25 million. So tickets for the Jays' best of 7 series go on sale this morning. You may recall that the Jays series against the Yankees sold out within 2 hours. So game 1 set for Sunday, game 2 Monday. Will this affect my family's Thanksgiving dinner plans? Absolutely. We still don't know, as Heather was mentioning, whether it's Detroit or Seattle. The winner take all game 5 goes tomorrow. Once again, tickets on sale 10 a.m. this morning. That's less than 3 hours.
And you have a story about country music stars who are making the news as well, and maybe in a way that people might not expect.
That's right. Domino's Pizza is going through a rebrand. It's first in 13 years. So you'll see brighter blues and reds on its pizza boxes. It's got a new font and it has a new jingle, which plays on the M in Domino's, as in mmm. But what's getting the buzz is the new tagline to the jingle. See if you can figure out who delivers it.
Domino's.
Do you recognize that song?
I don't know.
That voice?
Well, I'm going to say Snoop Dogg and be completely wrong, so go ahead.
No, it's performed by a country singer, Shabuzi. Grammy, yes.
I could have caught that in your lead because you told us it was a country singer. Okay.
Shabuzi, the Grammy.
Everybody on the floor
behind.
getting tipsy. Yeah.
Exactly. But he is not the only Grammy winner getting buzz, but for a very different reason. Superstar country singer Zach Bryan posted part of a song on Instagram, which has caught the ire of the Department of Homeland Security. It's upset with the lyrics, which are critical of ICE, or the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, this song hasn't even been released yet, but here's a taste of it from Brian's Insta.
And ICE is gonna come bust down your door. Try to build a house, no one builds no more, but I got a telephone. Kids are all scared and all alone.
And later in the verse, he sings, "The middle finger's rising and it won't stop showing. Got some bad news, the fading of the red, white, and blue." So the Department of Homeland Security calling the song disrespectful. It responded by posting footage of ICE arrests involving real people scored by one of Brian's other songs. Some fellow country artists are calling Zach out for being political. He himself is a U.S. Navy veteran. He says the song wasn't meant to be divisive. He says, "To see how much bleep it stirred up makes me not only embarrassed, but kind of scared."
The U.S. has a long history of country artists getting political. I'm thinking about Toby Keith when the Iraq War happened. So it's interesting. Yeah, we're in a different place now, though. All right, well, we'll see what the follow continues to be from this. Thank you, Hallie.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
That's Hallie Cottenham live on CBC this morning with our business news. 6:42 a.m. It's 12 degrees, partly cloudy in Winnipeg. And okay, Blue Jays, that's how you play ball.
And a ground ball fair. Guerrero to Lauer, and they've done it. Blue Jays are American League East Division champions for the first time in 10 years.
That's what it sounded like last night. That was from the Jays Instagram page, by the way. When the Jays won, beating the Yankees 5-2. They will make their way, as you've been hearing this morning, to the American League Championship Series for the first time since 2016. They went through 8 pitchers last night. For Canadian history here, if you don't watch baseball, I mean, the last time the Jays would have gone this far and this deep, they were back-to-back World Series champions, but you got to go back to 1992 and 1993. So is this a big deal? You bet it is. And the best part is they're doing it as a team. My next guest appreciates a good team, and that is because he's been a longtime coach. Winnipegger Scott Nealis is a former coach with the Winnipeg Goldeyes. He's the current president of Softball Canada. He's a Jays fan. In fact, he was in Toronto for the first 2 games of this series, and we woke him up early, but we figure he won't mind. Hi there, how you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. Great day.
Right? What'd you make of the game last night?
Well, it's funny. I think it epitomizes exactly what this team is all about. Throwing 8 pitchers in a game is unprecedented. Like an inning at a time, you never see with such success, such a great effort. And then as far as the hitting, it's a different guy every night, or it's 4 or 5 guys punching in with singles here and there. And it's a fun team to watch. It's great to see when a team is operating as a team.
I got to ask you this because you've worked, people will, watch you coach our Goldeyes here, and we love baseball in this city. We always fill the stands for the Goldeyes. And also obviously worked through Softball Canada and have, developed a lot of athletes. I want to shout out Nathan Lucas from last night because, this guy has been in the minors for I think 10 years, they said. He gets brought up, and then last night he was really the hero, placing this perfect hit that brought in 2 of the key runs, which, you always need room against the Yankees. What's it like for the players that, grind it out for the love of the sport? What must that have been like? What were you thinking watching that last night?
Well, that's what makes it extra special is I know back in 92 and 93, I was very fortunate to have some teammates on that team, and there were some good young players that you appreciated what they're doing, but it was also a makeup of a lot of veteran players. They were pulling in some big names, Ricky Henderson, Paul Molitor, a lot of big names that you kind of expected them to win, where with this group, you've got guys that there's people on this team that nobody had heard of before this season, and they've made themselves into household names. And you saw it last night where these guys that were just your ordinary ball players, as you say, grinders and journeymen that are coming through with big hits on the big stage. It's just fun to watch.
What other moments stood out for you last night? I know there were a lot because the Jays always play small ball. So, I mean, there's stolen bases and rundowns. And I think there was a double play last night. Might have been one of the first double plays in the series. There haven't been a lot of them, at least. But what stood out for you?
Well, for me, it was the pitching. I mean, the bullpen got beat up on a couple of occasions just the night before. And you had the same guys out. I think they made mention on the broadcast that Varland, who got roughed up the night before, said, "Give me the ball. I want to start." And he goes out and does a great job for 1 2/3 inning. And every single bullpen player that had gone out there had been roughed up a bit in this series. And it was just great to see every single one of them come back and bounce back and do such a great job and contribute to the team win.
Well, lucky you. You were there for the first couple games in Toronto with this series. Are you snagging tickets for the next part, or what's your plan? You going to be able to get it to Winnipeg and get over to see the Jays in person again?
You know what? I was watching the game in Ottawa last night, and my meetings ended that if there was a possibility, if there was a Game 5, I was going to try and swing through Toronto for that. I've got World Baseball softball meetings in Thailand next week, so I'm going to have to find a way to watch them on some TV on a much different time frame. But in order to get to the next one, they've got to get to the World Series, so I'll just keep my fingers crossed for that.
So let's ask you before you go here, Scott. I mean, the series between Seattle Mariners and Detroit Tigers, as we know, tied 2-2. We don't know who we're going to face. Who would the Jays rather face in your view?
Honestly, I don't think at this time you really look to who you'd rather face. From a logistical standpoint, playing against Detroit would be much easier for travel. You're not going cross country for either team. Both teams will be outstanding and ready to go. You don't see Seattle a lot when you're in Canada, so nobody really knows a lot about them. Whereas in Detroit, you do have a bit of better understanding. If I were to pick one, I would say it's Detroit, but it's the old be careful what you wish for, because both teams are going to be ready to go.
Thank you for being ready to go and talking to us and letting us wake you up this morning. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care and go Jays.
Right on. Okay, we have the more analysis coming up on sports at 7:25 when Scott Regehr joins us. Blue Jays last night over the Yankees 5-2. It's 13 minutes to 7 o'clock. Bit of music next on CBC from Ghanaian musician Luna L, who showcases her vocals in a big way in this next track. This is Heart of a Storm on 89.3 FM. Juno-nominated Luna L. That's Heart of a Storm on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, or you might be watching on YouTube. Fading away. Thursday morning, we're going to have nice weather today. Warmer, still windy, a high of 19 in the city of Winnipeg today. It will be a mix of sun and cloud for us, 12 right now. Brandon, a mix of sun and cloud as well. Your high is going to be 20 degrees. And then in Thompson, your high just 11, but you are also expecting a chance of showers this afternoon, just a 30% chance in the forecast. If you need us on the morning commute, please give us a call. 788-3093 is where you can reach us here at CBC. Well, next, it's something we have been hearing about for some time, the threat of AI coming after human jobs. And while it might not yet be fully replacing humans in some sectors, as we've been hearing as well, it is becoming more present in the workplace. That might put some quote-unquote white-collar jobs at risk. To talk about this, Francis Sims is here, Associate Dean of the Faculty of Applied Sciences and Technology at Humber Polytechnic. Making sure I got the name of the institution right. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm great. I'm happy to be with you guys again.
So what are the white-collar jobs most at risk of being impacted by AI right now?
Yeah, the jobs that I like to think about that AI will first come for are the ones that I call intellectual labor jobs. And I call it that because I like to think of the Industrial Revolution. If you were a ditch digger at that time, well, then a backhoe comes along and it replaces you. And so hopefully you went on to do something else. So the people that will be first affected are the people that are coordinating, administering, doing basic research, maybe doing scheduling. And I think of some of those jobs like if you're a law clerk or a paralegal in a law firm, you might be grabbing all that case law together, all those other cases for your lawyer, putting it in a report. Now that lawyer can leave at the end of the day. They can ask the AI to do it, and probably before they get home, right, to have supper, it's done. And so that's a job that'll be affected. If you're a bookkeeper or you're a HR coordinator, there's impact there too. And it's problematic because those are jobs that people live their lives based on, but they're also the entry-level jobs that help to grow our young people graduating from colleges and universities into leaders later on. So it's a sort of a double-edged problem.
Obviously, this is all continuing to develop and evolve, AI. How soon will we actually see it in the workplace if you kind of look at some examples?
Yeah, we're starting to see it this year. So last year, we all used what we call generative AI, which is using like ChatGPT to write emails, or maybe if you're a student, help to write an essay. This year, we're moving into agentic AI. And so what that means is AI can start doing more complicated tasks. So let me give you an example. If you're a doctor, a general practitioner, you can now record your appointment, right, the audio of your appointment with your patient. With agentic AI, you can take that audio recording, transcribe it, right? That's fine. But you can actually automatically book the requisitions that you might need, like the blood work or the x-ray, order the prescriptions automatically, and then book the next person's appointment. So what that might mean is no longer do you need the medical secretary 5 days a week. You might only have to ask them to come in for 1 day a week. And so I think in the next couple of years, we're going to start to see this. And we've seen alarm bells being raised by CEOs of Ford, from Amazon, from Walmart, saying that these job losses are going to start to happen in the next year or two.
In Manitoba, I can't help reflecting. We just got plastic health cards. We don't even have our electronic records updated yet and being shared widely, just to use a healthcare example. Are we ready for this? Is Canada ready for this?
I don't think so at all. So Canada, as you can see with this recently announced task force from Minister Solomon, our AI minister, it's very focused on the innovation and the technology. 26 individuals that are from big universities and mostly big tech are on this task force defining the strategy around AI. But what was missing were trade unions, tradespeople, colleges, polytechniques, and small and medium businesses. And those are where the impacts are going to be felt first, I think. And what we need is really a national strategy, because it's not like there's going to be like a layoff at one plant. And then the government will work with that owner to find how to retrain those people. We're going to start to see layoffs across all sectors across the entire country. So we really need that national strategy to be put in place, and one that holds those companies to account, because right now there is no accountability for the companies that are creating these tools.
And holds into account how to be part of the retraining process?
Maybe. Like, I think if you're building, say, a new building, a business park or a condo, say, in Winnipeg, well, likely you have to work with the city to say, okay, in order to get the approvals to build, I have to give back. I have to build a community center or give money towards that, or build a park, or do something instead of just taking. Right now, these companies basically strip mine our intelligence because we all upload everything to them. Sometimes they charge us for it, and then they take that information and then sell it back to our employers, right, to say this is how you make your business more efficient. So it doesn't really make sense. It's not like really a balanced equation. So we need the federal government to find a way to hold those companies to account, maybe for the retraining and the upskilling, because we know that people have busy lives, they have debt, they have kids, elderly parents. They can't. How are they going to find the time or the money to do the retraining themselves?
And I guess, is there anything that people can do to future-proof their careers right now? How would you suggest we view this? Because it's coming.
Yeah. And so I think what you can do is think of it this way. In the next few years anyway, AI is not going to replace your job, but somebody that knows how to use AI might. So what I mean by that is the best thing you can do is think about how you can learn AI. Find that space, maybe talk to your manager, start to play with those tools, because AI is not good at the communication piece, not good at the leadership piece, the ethics, the critical thinking, the creativity. So many artists in Manitoba and Winnipeg. AI cannot do that now. And so if you can, with those skills, combine them with the just a little bit of knowledge of AI, that could be a bit of a superpower for you and help to protect you going forward, at least for the next few years.
All right, Francis, thank you as always.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's Francis Sims, Associate Dean for the Faculty of Applied Sciences and Technology at Humber Polytechnic. It is now 3 minutes to 7 o'clock. We find ourselves here together this morning on Thursday, October 9th. Thanks for joining us wherever you're listening from in Manitoba. Welcome. And we will get into the weather and the traffic situation momentarily. Right now, we are just ahead of national and international news. Heather Wells is in with local headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, backlash from the legal community over Premier Wapkanu's comments on a bail decision. It comes after an Ontario trucker charged in a fatal collision last year was released from custody. This week, Premier Canoe said he agreed with a Crown argument the release would endanger public confidence in the justice system. Now, some are calling those comments inappropriate. More than a week after Manitoba's health minister apologized for the rollout of a new home care system and promised changes starting October 1st, a Winnipeg man says he's still experiencing inconsistent and untimely care. We're going to hear the story of Gerald Cadman coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
In national and international news, there is singing and celebrating and some sense of relief in Israel and in Gaza this morning. If you're just waking, Israel and Hamas have reached the first phase of a ceasefire deal. So we will hear more about what that looks like and more about that reaction from our reporters on World Report in 2 minutes' time. Also, locally coming up, how much more could you be paying for your morning cup of coffee? According to a local coffee importer, it could be much more. Prices are already going up around town, so we'll look at that. Plus, at 7:45, despite changes that have been made to home care services in Winnipeg, as we've been hearing in the news, there's still challenges. We're going to hear more from that client who says the service is still missing the mark. We'll get some analysis of the Middle East this morning, given the development I just mentioned overnight. And we'll continue our series looking at downtown and how to make things brighter and busier. Nuit Blanche was a week ago. Some are craving another nighttime event like that. CBC spoke to some Winnipeg students who say the city isn't boring, but there is room for improvement. They want more frequent events, incentives to come downtown, and more venues to party. We're going to hear what they'd like to bring to Winnipeg's nightlife. In Winnipeg right now, partly cloudy, 12 degrees, heading for a high of 19 with a windy day ahead, and your morning commute so far so good, so early. 204-788-3093. So you can reach Corey at that line and pass along anything you see on your commute, whether you're biking, walking, or driving. I'm Marcy Marcus. So stay with CBC on 89.3. World Report is next. It's 1 minute to 7.
Is a once in a lifetime opportunity and it won't last long.
So don't wait.
It is amazing what the new AI video apps can do. Also maybe a little terrifying how they use real people's images and fake films or create videos where it's hard to tell what's true, what's false, and what's just slop. The future of AI video coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. The Israeli military says it is preparing to pull back its troops in Gaza, and it will take action as soon as Israel signs the peace deal announced last night by U.S. President Donald Trump.
Thank you. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Netanyahu. Thank you.
He deserves a Nobel Prize for this, a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing this amazing deal.
Very exciting day. Finally, the time is come.
Families of Israeli hostages are celebrating. This deal means Hamas will release the 48 remaining hostages, and a number of Palestinians will be released from Israeli jails. Hamas says the deal will also allow the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. The CBC's Crystal Gomansing has more from Tel Aviv.
Israeli flags, horns, drums, all ringing out in celebration. Ronnie Shaviv has visited Hostage Square many times, but today she and her daughters walked around smiling.
Now it's happening. We're so happy. We came in to be happy with all of the people, seeing hope in their eyes. We're just excited.
As part of phase one of the deal agreed between Israel and Hamas, the remaining 20 surviving hostages are expected to be released within 72 hours. Palestinian prisoners will also be released, and Israel Defense Forces will pull back to an agreed line inside Gaza. Families with loved ones in captivity say they didn't believe the news at first. They are relieved but say it should have happened sooner. They blame Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israeli President Isaac Herzog in a social media post today described the deal as historic and momentous. He and others are directly attributing the deal to U.S. President Donald Trump, and American flags are flying high in Hostage Square. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, Tel Aviv.
In Gaza this morning, singing, a sound not heard much in the past 2 years. The CBC's Anna Cunningham has more on the reaction to the peace agreement among Palestinians.
Singing, dancing and clapping. As word spreads in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, Palestinians took to the streets. Crowds gathering near Nasser Hospital, an area that has seen numerous Israeli strikes. Khaled Shah describing this as a historic moment. Wael Radwan thanked God and the US President Donald Trump, saying this was a joyful moment. All the Gaza Strip is happy, says Abdulmajid Abrabo. All the Arab people, all of the world is happy with the ceasefire and the end of bloodshed, he adds. In the camps where thousands of Palestinians have fled to, many having moved multiple times during this war, illuminated by lamplight, the dancing and singing continued into the night. Elsewhere in Gaza, reaction from aid workers.
Is this the moment? It's incredibly quiet outside,
says James Elder from UNICEF.
It's the middle of the night. People haven't heard yet, but also it's incredibly quiet from the skies. Come on!
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has welcomed the announcement that Israel and Hamas have reached the first phase of a ceasefire deal, saying he hopes the efforts serve as a prelude to achieving a sustainable political solution. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
The president of Colombia says there are signs Colombian citizens were killed in the most recent U.S. military bombing of a small boat off the coast of Venezuela.
Hoy por hoy, la realidad es que se quieren aislar.
Gustavo Petro says the United States wants to isolate itself, and he accuses Washington of military aggression in the Caribbean as part of a war against Latin Americans. The White House is calling Petro's statement baseless. The U.S. military has attacked at least 4 boats off the coast of Venezuela. It has not identified who was aboard any of them. The Trump administration claims the boats were carrying drugs and were being operated by the Tren del Agua gang. A judge will hear arguments over a request to block the deployment of National Guard troops to Illinois. The state's governor and city officials oppose U.S. President Donald Trump's use of the Guard. They say it is illegal and unnecessary. Some 500 troops were deployed to the Chicago area this week. It is part of Trump's wider campaign to, he says, fight crime in American cities and assist in immigration enforcement. Riot police in Madagascar fire tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters. The crowd blocks roads and throws objects at the security forces. The anti-government demonstrations are now into their third week. They're being led by young people inspired by the so-called Gen Z movements in Nepal and Kenya. The protests are posing the biggest challenge yet to the president and his government. Demonstrators are angry about poverty and high-level corruption. In British Columbia, the General Employees Union is in its sixth week of strike action. That is causing some service delays across the province. Now, cannabis and liquor store employees have joined the picket lines. As Caroline Bargut tells us, some restaurants are getting worried about their supplies.
1 day longer, 1 day stronger.
25,000 out of 34,000 government employees are walking the picket line in British Columbia. It's the largest civil service strike in this province. They are corrections officers, social workers, administrative staff, and now BC Liquor and cannabis employees. Paul Finch is the president of the British Columbia General Employees Union. He says wages are the main issue.
The government's last offer was 2% per year. Our last offer was 4% per year. We're willing to go back to the table to negotiate and find a common ground. Government isn't.
Emrys Horton manages the Provence Marina Side restaurant in Vancouver. He stocked up on liquor as soon as he heard there would be a strike. That's because businesses here are not allowed to buy liquor from private shops and can only get it from provincially run liquor stores, which are now closed.
It's always a concern when your only supplier of a product suddenly stops supplying the product. Every other product we buy, we have choices. You know, I want to buy chicken, I can go to anybody who sells chicken and I can buy chicken and that's just fine. But if I want wine, I have to go to one supplier.
Negotiations between the province and the union began in January but broke off in July. Workers went on strike on September 2nd. Talks resumed at the end of the month but only lasted for 4 days before they broke off again. At this point, it's unclear how long the strike will last. Caroline Bargut, CBC News, Vancouver.
The majority of post-secondary students in Canada rely on AI to do their schoolwork. That is the key finding from a new study out this morning. As Deanna Sumanak-Johnson reports, there's concern about the impact artificial intelligence is having on the way students think.
In the almost 3 years since ChatGPT exploded into the mainstream, bringing concerns about AI use in education, it's become a well-used resource. A new survey by accounting firm KPMG found 73% of post-secondary students use generative AI for their schoolwork. Rob Clayton is KPMG's educational lead for Canada.
The students are definitely realizing that there is benefit to use the tools.
63% of students said they use AI for research, 43% for editing assignments. Still, there are hesitations, says Clayton.
I think it is still surprising to see that nearly half the students say their critical thinking skills are deteriorating because of the use of AI.
KDU, chemical engineering student at the University of Waterloo, shares that concern.
Yeah, I think I say I'm a bit concerned about work ethic, being able to think for myself in an exam setting.
Sarah Lane Eaton, professor of education at the University of Calgary, says it's up to educators to set up clear expectations around what's acceptable use of AI.
So we still need to figure out what counts as ethical assistance, if you will, or tutoring, but that's not up to the kids to decide. That's up to us to decide.
She says that the way the assignments are constructed and how students are assessed may need to change to adapt to the rapidly advancing technology that students are already using. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
A 71-year-old Hungarian author is this year's winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Laszlo Krasznahorkai, for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that in the midst of apocalyptic terror reaffirms the power of art.
Krasznahorkai has received many awards, including the 2015 Man Booker International Prize, and several of his works have been turned into films. This is the 118th Nobel Prize for Literature. Nobel Week continues tomorrow when the Peace Prize will be announced. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. If you like the World Report podcast, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps spread the word. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Thanks for being here. Thursday morning, going to be warmer today. Still windy, though. Abby's in with our forecast in a moment. The kind of day you might want to wrap your hands around a warm cup of coffee, but how much are you going to be paying for it? We're going to talk more about that. According to a local coffee importer, it could be more. And we've been covering this in our business news, ongoing prices of coffee in this country. So stay tuned. We'll have an interview coming up. Also this hour on the show, Nuit Blanche was a week ago, but some are already craving better nightlife and more folks downtown. Some Winnipeg students are going to weigh in this hour and talk about what they'd like to see for a more vibrant Winnipeg downtown. And then we will have some analysis of the Israel and Hamas reaching this first phase of the ceasefire deal. And right now, Corey's reaching out for local reaction here in Manitoba as well. So busy hour ahead. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells, who has developments in our news center and other stories. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, some members of Manitoba's legal community want politicians to stay in their own corner when it comes to cases before the courts. This week, the Premier said he agreed with Crown lawyers granting bail to an Ontario trucker charged in a deadly crash last year would endanger confidence in the justice system. We'll hear from the Criminal Defence Lawyers Association saying those comments undermine the independence of the justice system. And we're going to hear from a U of M law professor on the decision of a Manitoba judge yesterday to stay sexual assault charges against former fashion mogul Peter Nygard. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, Abby, the weather.
Plenty of sunshine in the forecast for much of the province. Today we're looking at temperatures warming close to 20 in most of the regions down south, while the north will stay cooler with highs between 9 and 11 degrees. Winnipeg right now, it's still 12 degrees, clear outside, sunshine on its way. That will hold through the day, and we're just going to see a few passing clouds in the afternoon and into the evening period with just some gentle southwesterly breeze. Highs would be around 19 degrees, and that's what the rest of the south would look like, except for Brandon, around 5 degrees now, but that should warm up to around 20 later.
You know, we've still got leaves on the trees, and last night I was looking at people on Instagram and in my social feeds posting being on patios.
Loving it.
Yeah, we're having a really nice fall.
Stepped out this morning. It wasn't as chilly as it was. I just felt that, evening breeze you feel when you're walking through the park.
So put on a sweater and enjoy it. Corey Funk, what's the commute like?
My favorite comic ever is Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, but it's just Humpty Dumpty like walking through a nice, lovely leafy forest with a scarf on.
Having a nice fall. I love
he's
that.
actually having a great fall. As for the commute, it's actually been pretty quiet out there. Haven't heard of any major issues out there. But if you do see something going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
A nicer nursery rhyme than when poor Humpty Dumpty breaks. Well, let's talk about coffee. Waking up to a cup of coffee is routine for a lot of people, but it is getting more expensive. Statistics Canada says coffee prices have gone up 34% since January. That's forcing coffee chains, like some of the big chains, like Tim Hortons, to increase their doubles by 3 cents, which is a first in many years. So we wanted to hit the street and see how that's impacting you and whether or not it's going to change your coffee drinking habits. CBC's Jim Agapito met up with some Winnipeggers over at the Forks.
Hi, what's your full name?
Jacqueline Linklater.
Have you noticed the change in how much coffee costs?
Yeah, pretty much. I'll go to Tim's and it seems like it's been a lot more. Like if an iced coffee's gone up a lot.
About how much are you spending on coffee right now?
This is embarrassing. I go to Tim's probably about every morning. They'll probably go at lunchtime and sometimes go to Starbucks. Probably about $200 a month on coffee.
$200. So a change like this will have a big impact. Okay. Is there a piece where you would say no thanks and stop drinking coffee?
Probably not.
Why is that?
Because I'm addicted to it. I just gotta get my coffee.
Shaylin Taysom.
About how much do you spend on coffee right now?
I'd say I don't know. I go a couple times a week, probably $5 each coffee.
Is there a piece that would make you say no thanks and stop drinking coffee?
Probably not. I don't know. I'd find a way.
And why is that?
I don't know. I can't stop drinking coffee.
Charles, sober night.
Have you noticed a change in how much coffee costs?
Yeah, obviously. Everything costs more now.
So how much would you say that you spend on coffee right now?
Like going out for coffee? Maybe twice a month.
And what about at home?
We have coffee every morning.
Have you noticed an increase in that?
Absolutely.
What prices would you say it's changed for you then?
Well, like you get a box of coffee pods at like Costco or something. The price went up, but the number of pods in it went down by like from 150 to like 120. So I'm paying more per pod, definitely.
With that said, I'm wondering, is there anything that would stop you and say no thanks to drinking coffee?
Well, it's not something I crave in the morning, so if it gets too expensive, I'm just going to quit drinking coffee.
Melanie McKay.
StatsCan says the price of coffee has gone up 34% since January. How do you feel about that?
I think it's ridiculous. Everything has gone up substantially over the last little while, and I think coffee should just remain the same. I usually go to McDonald's, to be quite honest with you, because the coffee there is much better, and it is way cheaper. But I noticed that when you use your points, that the amount of points used to get a free coffee has doubled as well. So for somebody who drinks coffee religiously as like every day, I need that, and I obviously will have to pay for it, but it really bothers me.
The Forks about coffee, and we wondered how it's affecting local businesses. So let's have coffee with Connor Vogt. I just saw him listening on Zoom and having a swig. He's the owner of Parlor Coffee here in Winnipeg. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what's your reaction, I guess, as you were listening to folks talking about some saying they'll change habits, others saying they wish they could, but they're addicted, some understanding and some saying they think it's ridiculous?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, everyone's going to have a bit of a different response to changes in prices for the things that they purchase, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people that we see come into the shop every day, they come every day, whereas some are coming, twice a week. Sometimes I only see people coming once a week. And again, I think with something like coffee, depending on how much it is a part of your routine, how much you kind of see it as a luxury good or as something that you feel like is a necessity, as a part of your lifestyle. Those are things that are going to change how you interact with things, right? So, yeah, I think that's why we saw sort of the swath of responses with regards to Jim's question there.
When did you first, Connor, notice the rise in coffee prices for the products at your business?
Yeah, I would say, again, like I know you had put that stat out that there was a StatCan had at least reported the 34% increase earlier this year, but I was starting to notice it earlier in the year. A larger part of our business recently over the last couple of years has been our matcha business as well. That's actually the thing that I've seen a much larger increase in pricing on compared to coffee. I know with coffee again specifically though, like, it is region dependent. And from what I understand, a really big part of the reason why there's such a change in coffee prices is the environmental conditions of the countries that are producing coffee, right? So there's also been an increase in pricing in the supply network. Shipping costs have gone up quite a bit as a result of global tariffs. At least that's what I've come to read. But again, like, we work with roasters who are buying from specific countries and who work with specific farmers, and they want to continue working with the farmers that they work with because that's a big part of this third wave shift in coffee, is having good relationships with the farmers you're working with, and not working specifically with regards to price, but working with regards to having an ethical code and working directly with farmers and developing relationships with them, and often wanting to support countries and regions that are underdeveloped and that haven't been properly highlighted in the world of coffee, right? Because you always have to remember that morning cup that you're drinking is the product of someone who's living
Someone's
all the way
farm.
across the world.
Yeah,
right?
and so for you, that you're
yeah.
outlining the ideology of it, and also matcha, which, in case listeners are listening, that's shade grown tree leaves. You whisk the powder into water or milk. It's green. You probably had it a time or two or seen it. So how much has matcha gone up then, and how much has coffee gone up for you in your business?
Again, coffee, some of the roasts that we buy haven't gone up at all. Whereas some I've seen an increase of 20 to 25%. Again, that's very much based on the region of where the coffee is being purchased. Matcha, on the other hand, has gone up considerably. Again, and I haven't. We've been looking around because it's harder to acquire matcha these days. Actually, a big part of that increase in matcha was that there was a huge TikTok trend for matcha purchases over the last, so there was a lot of videos going around of people drinking matcha, and that is a lot of what had contributed to that. Specifically from a numbers
is that
perspective,
because of demand for matcha then? What changed, and so it became harder to get? Okay.
Yeah,
And then also, I just want to add a question here, because you said if coffee, some coffee's gone up 25%, you said others not. But then you said matcha's gone up considerably. So 25% to me feels considerable. How much has some of the matcha gone up for you?
Yeah, I've noticed, again, like 30 to 40% with matcha. Yeah. So it's gotten quite a bit more expensive. Yeah.
What's it like for you to have to pass on those, I mean, I'm presuming you're having to raise prices for customers then. What's it like to pass that on?
We have tried to do a good job of finding creative ways to, instead of charging higher prices for certain things, finding ways to bring more people into the shop. I mean, one of the strategies that we've had over the last year has been providing a lot of events in this space, having things like floral pop-ups, vintage clothing pop-ups, live music, rather than, and trying to get people to come through our space and enjoy our space, rather than saying, hey, here, you come to Parlor Coffee every day. Like, now we're going to charge you, as someone who supports our business, more money because we're being affected by something that's all the way down the line. But again, the people that come to Parlor, they understand what we do and they value what we do. And I think that's kind of a part of the world that we live in, right? A part of the world that we live in is that, if we want to support the things that we think are meaningful, sometimes we have to absorb the cost. And I realize that as an owner of the business. And then on top of that, like, I don't want the people that work for me to have to suffer. We've thankfully been able to increase the amount that we pay people year over year, despite these different things that are going on, right? So
have you had
trying to find ways around it.
Have you had to pass cost on then, or are you eating most of it right now?
We've passed some, but not a significant amount. We've eaten some. So I think we all,
Yeah. So because
are sharing a little bit. But
because of that, if prices continue to increase on the products that are critical to your business, what will it mean for your business's bottom line?
Well, I mean, luckily our strategy is to try to change our business model and grow the number of things that we do. So we're not so reliant specifically on coffee. We're actually moving into a larger space next year. We're bringing our baking in-house. We're adding a lunch menu. We're going to be doing an evening service. So rather than have to worry about having this specific thing impact the business, for pivoting a bit to ensure that we can continue to serve, people in what we do, rather than just simply, raise prices to continue on working in this industry. Right.
So that's a big shift, as you said, to what you'll be doing. Was it prompted by the higher prices of that core product, or no? That was in the works anyway.
Yeah. Well, it was multifold. But one of the reasons was that there's a lot. Parlor started, nearly 14 years ago now. Actually, it's coming. Well, actually, we just passed 14 years. Sorry. So it's been around for a while. And when it started, there was not nearly as many coffee shops in that independent third wave style coffee shop space. But now you've got a bunch of them across the city. You've got spots like Little Sister and Cafe Postal and Tom Bargain, and you got Make Coffee. You got tons of them in our area. I mean, you got, Moss Coffee in our area.
Yeah.
You have
Market shifted.
And yeah, there's tons of spots around me that are serving coffee. Show Coffee Bar. So like I saw that and I went, okay, we can't just compete on coffee. We have to do other things. And, also the Exchange is a neighborhood that I believe is worth investing in and needs more things going on in order for it to have a flourishing community, right? So there were many reasons why. And we also found a space that we thought was perfect and needed to be some things. So
we'll follow through on your business story moving forward. But thank you this morning for where we started weighing in on the price of coffee. Appreciate you being with us on CBC.
Of course, yeah, you're welcome. Enjoy your day.
That is Connor Vogt, the owner of Parlor Coffee here in Winnipeg. It is 7:25 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on the app and YouTube. It is 12 degrees, mostly cloudy. That's been a steady temperature here on your Thursday morning. Our high today is 19. Going to be windy again. It is time for morning sports, and Scott Regier joins us. Hello.
Good morning.
Well, we've been talking a lot about it, but I'd love to get your take on the Jays game last night. They did it. They're moving on to the American League Championship Series.
Yeah, they did. And the way they eliminated the Yankees last night, Marcy, makes it all the more special. Rather than relying on a star hitter like Vladdy Guerrero Jr. or a star pitcher like Kevin Gausman, Toronto got it done very much with the collective. The Jays used 8 different pitchers yesterday, working the best matchups against New York's hitters, making bold calls like walking Aaron Judge when there were no men on base. The unorthodox approach worked. They held the Yankees to a meager 2 runs last night. Toronto manager John Schneider.
I texted those guys this morning and just said, this is an opportunity to have some fun, which I really meant. It seems uncomfortable as hell, but I really meant it. And it's easy to say, okay, we blew a lead yesterday and we're walking into this today, but I think that we really kind of felt it,
Also feeling it, Marcy, were Toronto's batters. Now, no Jay managed a home run last night, but 8 players had hits. One of them stood out in particular for me. That's Ernie Clement. This is a guy whose defense allows him to play all over the field, who seldom strikes out and always makes the other team's pitchers work. He's 29, and yet Clement's never been an established major leaguer. But this season, he led all of MLB in defensive runs saved. And in this playoff series, Marcy, he had 9 hits in 14 trips to the plate. Incredible from such an unsung guy, but emblematic of this team as a whole. So up next, the ALCS against either Seattle or Detroit. And until then, we'll give a champagne-soaked Vladdy Guerrero Jr. the final word.
The Yankee lose.
Couldn't resist.
There's a lot of nice moments. Ernie Clement missed the picture last night. I also loved that. And then they were all this iconic picture of them with their new hats and shirts on after they won. And then they retook it. They're like, everybody has to be here.
all over again. It's like an elementary school situation.
Totally. All right. There's a beautiful feature online today at cbc.ca/Manitoba if you want to check it out. It's all about Jonathan Taves, hometown, what it's like being here. Really reflective. Speaking of hockey, though, it was a busy night on the ice, too.
It was. The Leafs edged the Habs, and Calgary got by Edmonton, Marcy, on opening night for those NHL teams. Meantime, the Jets, of course, get their season underway tonight. They'll host Dallas, and they'll do it with the freshly extended Kyle Connor in the lineup. Connor inked the richest deal in franchise history yesterday, an 8-year whopper worth $96 million. Now, he likely would have received more than that from another team if he'd become an unrestricted free agent next year, and he was asked why he stayed.
You can never really picture where your career is going to go, but I think it's pretty special and something I don't take for granted to be able to play for a single organization throughout my whole career. And you got to start thinking about other people too in this scenario. And I think Winnipeg's a great place to raise a family. Talking to the guys over the years, even Hellebuck having small kids and everybody. So it's a great community to raise a family, and that's definitely part of the equation as well.
Now, there's a good reason Kyle's so family focused. In March, he and his wife Allie welcomed their first child, daughter Willa Jo. And you've got Hellebuck with kids. You've got Mark Scheifele with kids. They're going to be able to grow up together over the next 5, 6, 7 years in Winnipeg. Pretty cool. Puck drop tonight against the Stars is 7 o'clock.
Let's finish here with footy, where Canada's men's team does continue its preparation for the World Cup right now.
Yeah, including a friendly tomorrow night against Australia. The Socceroos, as they're known, Marcy, should be a good test. They're ranked 25th in the world, which is one spot ahead of the Canadians. The player who has maybe the most to win or lose in this match is Maxime Crepeau. Once the country's clear number one goalie, Crepeau has now fallen behind Dane St. Clair. Tomorrow night's match is in his hometown in Montreal. So he's expected to get the start. And in Max Crepeau, you might recall before the World Cup in Qatar, he broke his leg in an MLS match a month before that. He was just gutted, right? So he really wants to be a part of this World Cup team next summer. We'll see how they do tomorrow.
All right. Thanks a lot, Scott.
You bet.
Well, we might be a good family town for the Jets and their little kids. However, what's it like if you're single? Is there enough action in nightlife? Some young Winnipeggers say not so much. They'd like to see more vibrancy downtown. They point to Nuit Blanche, which wrapped up last week, but they say, why don't we have more of that? We're going to hear more of that this half hour. Stay tuned. The news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it is 12 degrees to start what is going to be a good-looking early October day in Winnipeg. Mix of sun and clouds. That wind is going to ease up. A high today of 19. Joy today in the Middle East, with Israel and Hamas agreeing to the first phase of a peace plan for Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this is a diplomatic success and a national and moral victory for the state of Israel, and the father of a hostage is celebrating.
President Trump, thank you very much.
For Palestinians, fresh hope of establishing a new state and a chance to rebuild. Omar lives in Victoria, BC, and has family in Gaza.
I'm just extremely happy that at least there is a stopping for all the madness of killing people in the Gaza Strip. My family is finally got the chance to breathe. I got the chance finally to at least breathe.
Prime Minister Mark Carney releasing a statement saying, I'm relieved the hostages will soon be reunited with their families. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre congratulating President Trump on negotiating a peaceful end to the war. You can hear the latest on this story, as well as other national and international news, coming up on World Report at 8. More than a week after Manitoba's health minister apologized for the rollout of a new home care system and promised changes starting October 1st, a Winnipeg man says he is still experiencing inconsistent and untimely care. Gerald Cadman depends on 4 home care visits a day. He's paralyzed from the chest down and needs 2 healthcare aides to help lift him into bed each night. Last week, one didn't show up. Then on Tuesday, a pair of others arrived earlier than scheduled.
I was so upset because it sounded like October 1st was going to be changes. Deep down, I knew there couldn't be a change from September 29th to October 1st.
The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority says it is adjusting shifts, so more scheduling clerks are working during the busiest hours. You can hear more on this story in the next half hour right here on Information Radio. Some members of Manitoba's legal community want politicians to stay in their own corner when it comes to cases before the courts. This week, Premier Wapkanu said he agreed with Crown lawyers. Granting bail to an Ontario trucker would endanger confidence in the justice system. The accused had been released after being charged in a crash near Altona last year. In that crash that killed a woman and her young daughter. Chris Gamby at the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association says the Premier's comments undermine independence in the justice system.
Judges are supposed to be independent. Likewise, the prosecution services is supposed to be independent of political pressure. These are experienced people that make decisions based on facts and evidence that is before them.
The trucker left the country and avoided police for months before returning to Canada. Court heard he has no previous criminal record. A University of Manitoba law professor says a decision to stay sexual assault charges against Peter Nygaard is telling police to do better when it comes to record keeping. Yesterday, a Manitoba judge stayed the charges against the former fashion mogul because she determined he wouldn't receive a fair trial. Police evidence from 1993, when the complainant came forward, was lost. Peter Trask says there's no statute of limitations in Canada on sexual assault, and the police need to have a clear policy when it comes to notes and evidence.
This decision sends a really clear message to the police that, hey, you have to be
absolutely on top of your records keeping. And, it's not going to be appropriate to just say, oh, sorry, I guess we didn't keep it from that long ago.
Trask says people need to understand this has nothing to do with who the accused in the matter is. It's about whether it's possible for the accused to get a fair trial. The province is bringing back a popular program to help homeowners and tenants feel safer. Applications for the Manitoba Security Rebate Program have been reopened. People can get $300 rebates for home security equipment, things like cameras, locks, doorbell cameras, alarm systems, and motion detectors. The program was first launched in June 2024 to a huge response. And a Hungarian novelist has won this year's Nobel Prize for Literature.
Laszlo Krasznahorkai, for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that in the midst of apocalyptic terror reaffirms the power of art.
Nobel Committee honoring Laszlo Krasznahorkai. The 71-year-old critically acclaimed writer is known for exploring dystopian themes. And the Nobel Committee says his bleakly funny novels can, quote, unfold in single sentences. The Nobel honors continue tomorrow with the awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize. I'll be back with more Manitoba news throughout the morning, and you can find the latest news updated at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather Wells.
Thank you.
Heather Wells live in our news center. Lots going on. Okay, weather is pretty straight ahead on the other hand, and Abby's here with that.
Yeah, we're looking at the north still, just staying in that cool spot. We're going to see more like 10, 11 degrees. That would be the high for the northern parts of the province today. But down south, let's look at Winnipeg right now, still hovering between 10 and 12 degrees, depending on where you are in the city, under mostly clear skies. The sun already making its appearance. We're going to see sunshine through the day, just a few passing clouds with a light southwest breeze, and highs will be around 19 degrees. More clear conditions continue into the evening period, and we will see calm evening into the overnight time. In the Pembina Valley region, more than Winkler out in the Morris, we're looking at 9 degrees there. Sunshine also takes over early, and we'll see gentle breeze. High will be around 21. For the Brandon region, it's still 5 degrees there, warming up to 20 later in the day. Dauphin is around 13 degrees, enjoying some sunshine already. We'll see highs around 18 degrees. Gimli is at 11, warming to 11. The Powerful Influence, we're looking at 8 degrees there. Sunshine and a slim chance of showers in the forecast, reaching 11. Thompson is at 7. Slim chance of showers also this afternoon, warming to 11. Churchill, temperatures around 5 degrees at this time. You're warm close to 10 degrees. We'll see it around 9 and partly clearing tonight. So it's more like calm, sunny day in the south, and then a few showers will spot in the north. Winnipeg, 12 degrees right now.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey, you do have something to pass along in traffic.
Yeah, I got a call from Jason Carter, who was on his bike, and he said that the street lights, so not the traffic lights, those are fine. The actual street lights that light up the road are out on Main Street between River and Assiniboine, so things are a little bit darker. Sun's starting to pop up, but it might be a little bit darker on that section of Main Street. Other than that, haven't heard of any major issues out there, but if you do see something going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, next on the show, is Winnipeg a boring city? Well, the answer will vary depending, of course, on who you ask, but we can all agree there's some good, and of course, there's some room for improvement. Now, tomorrow on the show, we're going to specifically be looking at whether we're boring when it comes to nightlife. We're going to talk to a nightlife mayor who has been working to improve Ottawa's night scene for a year now. He's going to tell us what they've been doing and also what we could learn here in our city. But first, we wanted to set up, what you think of this. So we sent CBC's Jenna Badasso out to the University of Manitoba to get some insight from students.
My name is Poppy Debates.
So tell me what you think about the nightlife in Winnipeg.
I just turned 18 this summer, so I think so far it's been pretty fun. I've only been to a few clubs and bars like Cowboys and King's Head, and I also work at a brewery, so I'm a bartender, so I kind of know a bit more about behind the scenes as well, which is nice to appreciate all of that.
What do you think about overall what there is to do for fun, I guess, on a Saturday night downtown?
I think it depends where you go and what season it is as well. In the summer it's definitely a bit more busy, but in the winter there's not as many things to do, definitely with our climate. But I wouldn't say it's boring. I would just say it's not ideal.
My name is Hash Abreu.
What are some things that you think need to improve to maybe make the nightlife here a little bit better?
maybe get a lot of like a big concert hall or something like that to get the big artists out there here to come to Winnipeg. And then something else, the roads here, it's not really well developed. Even the stairs, the sidewalks, there's a lot of improvement when it comes to the construction of the city. Therefore, when you get the people from outside, it would be amazing to just have them around here, right? They need to have a good experience for them to be like, oh, Winnipeg is a good destination to do my concert at.
Hi, my name is Victoria Romero.
So tell me what you think about the nightlife in Winnipeg.
I think it's definitely, there's a lot of great communities, there's different event organizers. I think it can seem like a sleepy city at first, but if you know the right places to go, it's definitely a very vibrant scene.
What do you think needs to improve to maybe kind of increase the venues, increase the events, and just make Winnipeg, I guess, just more lively?
I know there's like a big focus with our city government and the provincial government for funding different, arts and cultural festivals, but I'd love to see that expanded into, more kinds of general nightlife and supporting music, whether that be live music or, like live DJing, things like that. It should be valued as those same kind of art forms as, folk fest, as people performing there, or fringe festival, things that get different government grants and stuff. So more investment into the arts, I think.
Yeah, my name is Hussein Shukr.
So tell me, what do you think about the Winnipeg nightlife?
It's quite limited, but it has its benefits. Obviously, it has its spots. There are fun things to do here and there, especially during the summer. Like there are some couple of clubs. There are events that happen downtown here and there. But there isn't a lot that happens usually, especially when it comes to winter. I think 2 weeks ago, last week, we had the Nuit Blanche. Yeah, so that was really nice. Really brings life to the city. And I think there is a lot of potential to do with it within the city. I think we just need to give the opportunity for organizers to do more things. And they're very talented people. Give them these resources, and I think they could do some serious work.
My name is Faisal Mustafa. I think the nightlife is pretty amazing. We got a lot of activities to do here, like playing the arcade games, or our movie theaters are always open till late night, so you can also enjoy that too. I also believe the roads in Winnipeg are pretty good. You can go for a long drive as well while enjoying the scenic views. And other than that, I think the downtown is pretty good too. It gives you a bit of a Toronto vibe, not at all, but you can expect something like that in a small city like Winnipeg. But that should fill the gap.
Is there anything that you think that needs to improve to make the nightlife better?
To make the nightlife better, I think the ongoing crime rates that's happening in Winnipeg. I think if we have a bit of a control on that, I think that would make it seem better, because many of us have a concept, like many of us have a thinking like to go to the north end, like going to the north end is like pretty risky. So I think that to get that thought like out of your mind, I think they should work on their crime rates pretty much. Then I think
some interesting range of perspective there. As students from the University of Manitoba campus were weighing in with the CBC's Jenna Dosso, who was out there. This week we've been doing a bit of a series about the downtown nightlife and specifically, how to improve the city. We're going to continue this tomorrow with the series. Mathieu Grandon is going to be with us. Mathieu is Ottawa's nightlife mayor. So what is that, and what's he been doing for a year to improve nightlife there? That's tomorrow, right after 7.
If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
Well, as you've been hearing in the news this morning on the radio, last week, Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera apologized for the rollout of a new scheduling system for home care workers in Winnipeg.
Instead of home care workers now having to drive, from one end of the city to another part of the city to provide care in a really short amount of time, we've made some geographic changes as a result of the work that's been done so that people will be able to have care schedules and routes that make more sense so they can deliver care in a more timely manner.
So the new system was meant to centralize scheduling for home care workers. However, it ended up leading to cancellations and actually delays in service. So there are changes that have since been made. The province said staff will still work out of one central office, but will be based on an area of expertise and then also on geography, as you heard from the health minister, rather than being part of like a single big pool of workers. Gerald Cadman is a home care client that depends on visits multiple times a day. He's 73. He's paralyzed from the chest down. CBC's Rosanna Hempel visited Cadman at his personal care home.
Disappointed in the fact that it sounded like there would be a new era October 1st. That's what it sounded like to me. And twice in the first week, it didn't work. In that May to September 29th, when the minister made her talk about changes, she said that the system wasn't working. I have home care workers say, I got to get out of here because I'm supposed to be in another place in 10 minutes. When I'm scheduled for about 35 minutes of time. It doesn't work out that way.
So you get less time.
I get less time, yes. On October 1st, when it sounded like this new system was supposed to take place, I had just one staff showed up. It's supposed to be two. She got here for 5 o'clock, and then we waited, and we waited, and we waited. 20 after 5, nobody comes. No phone call to me saying nobody was coming. No phone call to the workers saying nobody was coming. Again, just in the last week, twice. One person didn't show up.
And what else happened?
And no call from that. And then just yesterday, they came at 9 o'clock, and I get no phone call. What if I'm not what if I'm not in my room or even out of the building? They made a change. Like there has been lots of times where there's been a change, and I happen to be in my room. But what if I wasn't? I have a bed. The way to get into the bed is there's a lift, a Hoyer lift, and I have to go up on that. So it takes two people to set me up and get me into bed, and then I have to go from side to side to change briefs if I have to. So it does take two people to move me, to set me up, to dress me.
Going back to that day where only one person showed up, was the staff member who came, were they able to help you get to bed and do everything that you needed to get done?
That could get perhaps a care worker in trouble for doing something because it's a two-person. Some care workers have done it by themselves. They've let after hours know that they were doing it, and if that was okay. And then after hours said, well, it's two-person, but if you're okay with it. I've had staff, and this is before this, but I have had staff refuse to do it by themselves. They just say, no, I'm not going to do it. it's a health safety issue. I don't want to hurt myself. Which is true, too.
And then what did they do? You're just
Nothing. I'm stuck in a wheelchair.
overnight?
Oh, yeah.
Hempel out visiting Gerald Cadman, who was a personal care home resident, and speaking with her about what it is like for him when home care arrives, and also what he needs out of the system that would be improvements that they're trying to make and how they could actually impact his life. CBC has reached out to the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority for comment. As of airtime, we have yet to hear back.
There are many people who bring success, innovation, accomplishment, and charity to our community. We'd like you to help us meet some of the best. CBC Future 40 will honor 10 Manitobans under 40 making a difference. Help us discover the inspiring people in our province by nominating a shining star in your community today. For details, visit cbc.ca/future40mb.
It's 10 to 8 right now, and coming up at 8 o'clock, we're going to hear more about Israel and Hamas reaching the first phase of a ceasefire deal. After 8 o'clock on the show, we are going to be hearing locally reaction. So we have the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg who will be on the program. We also are going to hear from a local Palestinian man who lives here. He spent the night, he told us, talking to family back home. He says he's lost 139 family members to the war. What is his feeling this morning? So that is coming up live on CBC after 8 o'clock. With some analysis, though, let's dig into this next. So this deal has been reached to end the 2-year war in Gaza, phase 1. President Trump made the announcement on social media. Trump said Israel and Hamas had come to an agreement in Egypt and that the first phase of his 20-point plan would begin. So Akash Maharaj is here to talk about it, senior fellow at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto. Good morning.
Good morning.
What are the key points in this first phase?
Assuming that the government of Israel agrees to this peace plan later today, the first step will be an immediate ceasefire. Israel will discontinue its aerial bombardment of Gaza and will pull its troops back from the boundaries of Gaza City. Hamas will return the 48 remaining Israeli hostages to the government of Israel. We generally believe that 20 of those people are still alive, and Hamas is either in possession of or is aware of the location of the remains of another 28 people. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, the government of Israel will release the remains of 15 dead Gazans. And the government of Israel has promised to release 1,700 Gazans whom they have detained over the past 2 years, and another 250 prisoners who are currently in Israeli jails. Perhaps most significantly, the government of Israel has said that it will allow aid to enter the Gaza Strip, some 400 trucks bearing water, medical supplies, and food during each of the next 5 days, with the number of trucks allowed to increase gradually in later stages until it reaches a threshold that was agreed in January of this year.
To the prisoners that you were talking about on both sides, the timeline on that is 72 hours from what I'm seeing here in the reporting. I do want to ask you what is still up in the air. You started by saying, presuming that the Israel's government approves this later in the day. Can you outline sort of what is important to understand about implementation?
The Israeli cabinet will meet today. I would describe this not as a formality, but almost as a foregone conclusion. I think it is inconceivable that the Israeli cabinet will say no after Donald Trump has said you must. The real difference, how will Hamas hand over those weapons? To whom will they hand them over? And what will happen to them? In terms of the administration of the Gaza Strip, the agreement calls for what it describes as a non-political technocratic group of Palestinians to administer the area. But it doesn't say who those people are, how they will be selected, or what their powers might be. It also calls for a board to oversee them, chaired personally by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is to put it charitably, mercurial figure who tends to take chaos with him rather than order. So who will govern Gaza, how they will govern Gaza, and how they will relate to the United States and Israel, these are all major questions that have yet to be answered.
We're in an extremely fragile moment. We are seeing people, and we're about to hear this as well on World Report and see it. People in Israel and in Gaza singing, expressing some relief, dancing. Also, people talking about it being quiet after all of the obviously bombing and sounds of war. The reality is, though, after these 2 years, what has happened to Gaza and the people there?
It is a humanitarian catastrophe with few equals in the 21st century. There are about 2,000 Israelis who have died in this conflict, and between 65,000 to 80,000 Palestinians lie dead in the rubble of Gaza, an area that has been reduced to stones and to dust. In addition, there are currently about 470,000 Gazans who are facing the most catastrophic levels of hunger. Even under the best of circumstances, even if everything goes smoothly, Palestinians will continue to die by the hundreds, perhaps by the thousands, of hunger and from untreated wounds. But in a terrible, grotesque conflict, this is what hope looks like. It isn't the end of death. It's only the end of active killing. It will take generations for Gaza to be rebuilt, and for the prospects of a durable peace, that will take time.
Thank you very much for being with us this morning, Akash. Appreciate you setting up more of what we're about to hear and absorb through the day and make sense of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Akash Maharaj is a senior fellow at the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy at the University of Toronto. We reached him in Ottawa. Now, for more on how the Middle East and also the rest of the world is receiving this phase one of the ceasefire, you can stay tuned, please, for World Report, which is coming up in a few minutes' time from now. Also, as I mentioned, to local reaction here in Manitoba, we are going to hear from the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg, and we also are going to hear from a local Palestinian Winnipegger who spent the night talking to family back home. So that's all I had after 8. Right now, 3 minutes to 8, and Heather Wells is in to update other stories. Good morning.
Morning. Well, backlash from the legal community over Premier Wab Kinu's comments on a bail decision. It comes after an Ontario trucker charged in a fatal crash last year was released from custody. This week, Kinu said he agreed with the Crown argument the release would endanger public confidence in the justice system. Now some are calling those comments inappropriate. And the staying of charges against a former Winnipeg fashion mogul sends a message to police. Do better when it comes to keeping record. That from Brandon Trask, associate law professor at the University of Manitoba, after a judge yesterday stayed sexual assault charges against Peter Nygaard, determining lost evidence would prevent him from getting a fair trial. I'll be back with more of these stories coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
So what's the impact on survivors of all of what Heather was outlining there? We're going to talk to a local organization about that after 8 as well. Right now on Information Radio, let's dip into what's going on in traffic ahead of 8 o'clock.
Got a call from a different Corey. Southbound Sturgeon between Ness and Portage is actually closed right now for construction. Only buses are allowed to get through. Corey chatted with the guy who's doing construction. Said it should only last a few hours, but might slow people down this morning during the rush hour.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
To our Corey Funk, 788-3093 if you want to reach him with any updates on your commute. Also, in the weather forecast today, expected to be windy again like yesterday. Winds will be south, gusting 30 to 50, and the high today is 19. Right now, it's 12 degrees in the city of Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You are with 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, or you might be watching us on YouTube. Wherever you're joining us, thanks for being here, and don't go anywhere because World Report is next.
And the band Dropkick Murphys started to notice how the political divide in America was showing up in their own audience. So they decided to address it head on stage.
He is a good sport. He's taking the shirt off. We're taking crime off the street.
That led to a viral moment, and King Casey will be here to tell you about it.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland.
and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
It is amazing what the new AI video apps can do. Also maybe a little terrifying how they use real people's images and fake films or create videos where it's hard to tell what's true, what's false, and what's just slop. The future of AI video coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. There is celebration in the streets of Tel Aviv this morning. U.S. President Donald Trump says Israel and Hamas have agreed to phase 1 of a peace deal in Gaza, and they are expected to sign it today. In the West Bank, this Palestinian man is expressing cautious optimism. He's waiting to hear what's in the deal. Here's what we know so far. Trump says Hamas will release all 48 remaining hostages very soon, and Israel will withdraw its troops to an agreed-upon line. Hamas is saying the deal will also allow humanitarian aid into Gaza, and a number of Palestinians will be released from Israeli jails. For more Israeli reaction, let's go to CBC's Crystal Gometsing in Tel Aviv. And Crystal, what is happening where you are?
At Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, there is singing. People are milling around. There are Israeli flags. And there is a sense of joy and calm and overwhelming relief. People have been at the square for so many hours already, talking about the moment that they heard the news, the joy they felt, and then the pause, the relief, the fear of what happens next. Will those hostages be released? Will you see all 48? Or will only some of them come across? We did hear from Hamas officials saying that they didn't know of some of the whereabouts of some of the remains of the hostages. So while we are expecting within about 72 hours for Hamas to release all of the hostages without any public ceremonies, we don't have a clear indication yet of just how many people, how many families will get that sense of relief that they have been waiting for the past 2 years. But right now, there is this beautiful sense of relief as people sing and dance and smile. We have heard from a number of families who are part of the Missing and Hostage Family Forum. They talk about relief. They also are expressing deep gratitude to President Donald Trump for his efforts from the United States with these negotiations. The next step in this process will be the Israeli Security Cabinet meeting later this afternoon. And then, of course, the government will meet to approve this deal. And then we expect to see this first phase of the deal that was agreed to, the hostage release, the exchange of Palestinian prisoners, all to start unfolding rather rapidly. But here at Hostage Square, there is a calm, joyous feeling. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Tel Aviv.
In Gaza this morning, singing, a sound not heard much in the past 2 years. The CBC's Anna Cunningham has more on the reaction to the peace agreement among some Palestinians.
Singing, dancing and clapping. As word spreads in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, Palestinians took to the streets. Crowds gathering near Nasser Hospital, an area that has seen numerous Israeli strikes. Khaled Shah describing this as a historic moment. Wa'el Radwan thanked God and the US President Donald Trump, saying this was a joyful moment. All the Gaza Strip is happy, says Abdul Majid Abrabo. All the Arab people, all of the world is happy with the ceasefire and the end of bloodshed, he adds. In the camps where thousands of Palestinians have fled to, many having moved multiple times during this war, illuminated by lamplight, the dancing and singing continued into the night. Elsewhere in Gaza, reaction from aid workers.
Is this the moment? It's incredibly quiet outside,
says James Elder from UNICEF.
It's the middle of the night. People haven't heard yet, but also it's incredibly quiet from the skies. Come on!
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has welcomed the announcement that Israel and Hamas have reached the first phase of a ceasefire deal, saying he hopes the efforts serve as a prelude to achieving a sustainable political solution. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is among world leaders welcoming the agreement. Carney's post on social media says peace feels attainable after years of intense suffering. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer calls this a first crucial step.
This is a moment of profound relief that will be felt around the world, but particularly for the hostages, their families, and for the civilian population of Gaza.
Kaja Kallas, the EU's foreign affairs chief, describes the agreement as a major diplomatic accomplishment. The UN's Antonio Guterres is promising to step up relief for people in Gaza. The list of people who want to lead the federal NDP is growing. Tennille Johnston officially launched her bid last night. She is a social worker and city councillor for Campbell River in British Columbia.
They'll continue to fight for free post-secondary education, for healthcare access for all of our rural and remote communities, affordable and accessible housing for every Canadian, and climate projects that defend and regenerate our environment.
A news release says Johnston is the first Indigenous woman to seek the party's top job. She was the NDP candidate for North Island Powell River in 2025 in the federal election, but she lost to Conservative Aaron Gunn. Voters in Newfoundland and Labrador are heading to the polls on Tuesday, and last night the leaders of the three major political parties took to the debate stage. As Heather Gillis reports, the new Churchill Falls deal with Quebec got a lot of attention.
All three leaders, please.
Liberal leader John Hogan, Progressive Conservative Tony Wakeham, and NDP leader Jim Dinn squared off during the only live televised leaders debate of Newfoundland and Labrador's 2025 provincial election. From immigration to ferries to deficit spending, one issue permeated it all: the Churchill Falls hydro deal with Quebec. It's a complex and pivotal agreement in a province with a history of bad power deals. The new one aims to make amends and develop more power. Liberal leader John Hogan says the province won't let billions of dollars and thousands of jobs slip by.
Why can't we say to Quebec, we want a good deal with you that benefits Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, not only on Gull Island, but on Churchill Falls, so we can get the money we deserve now and not wait until 2041, when, by the way, again, there might very well not be a deal on the table.
PC leader Tony Wakeham says he'll move ahead with the deal, but wants an independent review and a binding referendum.
Quebec are dancing in the streets right now, and the press is telling them to keep their voices down because they don't want people to realize how good a deal it is for Quebec and bad for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Meanwhile, NDP leader Jim Dinn wants more transparency.
Because from my point of view, there can be no partisan politics in this.
Election day is October 14th. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Canada's only major baseball league team is one step closer to the World Series. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the New York Yankees to move on to the American League Championship. It has been almost a decade since the Jays have advanced this far. Thomas Daigle has more on the game and the excitement.
Guerrero shoots it down the right field line, and that's a fair ball.
When red-hot Blue Jays slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. drove in a run to open scoring, it was the first sign Yankees fans would be in for a disappointment. Toronto racked up a dozen hits, outscoring their rivals 5-2 and knocking out the Yankees in 4 games. As the Jays partied with loud music and champagne in the clubhouse, Guerrero vowed to keep leading them even further.
When you celebrate, you want to continue.
Canadian fans who made the trip to New York thanked the team while basking in Toronto's first playoff series victory since 2016.
Oh, we're feeling great. Very excited. I'm excited for the next round. We got to keep the bats going, but I'm confident in the bullpen now.
Already, manager John Schneider is looking ahead to Game 1 of the American League Championship Series on Sunday.
It's really nice to go home and know that we're playing at home, and it's nice to kind of sort through what we think is the best way to try to beat whoever we're going to play.
The Jays will face either Seattle or Detroit in the next round, with a trip to the World Series now just 4 wins away.
And they are going to the American League Championship Series.
Thomas Daigle, CBC News, New York.
A 71-year-old Hungarian author is this year's winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature.
Laszlo Krasznahorkai, for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that in the midst of apocalyptic terror reaffirms the power of art.
Krasznahorkai has received many awards, including the 2015 Man Booker International Prize, and several of his works have been turned into films. This is the 118th Nobel Prize for Literature. It's been awarded to just 18 women so far. Nobel Week continues tomorrow, when the Peace Prize will be announced. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime at cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thursday morning. Thanks for being with us. Here we are at October the 9th, and not going to be bad today. Really windy once again, a little bit warmer than yesterday. This half hour on CBC 89.3 FM, we will have local reaction to the first phase of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. We will hear from the CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg, who says he's optimistic. That's his word this morning. We're also going to hear from a local Palestinian Winnipegger who says he spent the night talking to family back home. So what did they have to say? So that is all still ahead this half hour on Information Radio. In addition to another story that we're going to have on for this half hour, you might have been hearing in the news this morning, Manitoba, a judge here has stayed charges against Peter Nygaard in a Winnipeg sexual assault case. One local organization wants to see more work done before a case enters the courtroom, so outcomes like this can be different. So we're going to talk to them. That's coming up this half hour on the show as well. As mentioned, I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at your morning show on CBC, and stay with us. We'll have headlines in a moment. Here now is Heather Wells to update our news. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, some members of Manitoba's legal community want politicians to stay in their own lane when it comes to cases before the courts. This week, Premier Rob Canoe said he agreed with Crown lawyers that granting bail to an Ontario trucker charged in a deadly crash would endanger confidence in the justice system. Chris Gamby at the Criminal Defence Lawyers Association of Manitoba says the Premier's comments undermine the independence of the justice system. And a Winnipeg man wants to know why he continues to experience inconsistent and untimely home care. Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera said some changes would be in place by October 1st, and Gerald Cadman, who depends on 4 home care visits a day, says that date, October 1st, has come and gone, and he is disappointed. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 8:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, a quick look at the weather here. Let's turn to Abby.
Most of the regions waking up to temperatures between 5 and 13 degrees, and we'll see temperatures climb to 20 in the south and up to 11 up north. It will get windy from the south when it shifts later. We'll see Winnipeg get to 19. Right now, we're looking at 12 degrees. Sunshine will stick around today, and we will see temperatures between 20 and 21 for other regions, but Winnipeg gets to 19 today. Up north, we're going to see temperatures around 11 degrees.
With the commute news, here's Corey.
Got another Corey called the commuter line. He said southbound Sturgeon between Ness and Portage, they just closed it off to do some construction. It seems like it's just going to be for the morning, and they're only letting buses through. Corey talked to a construction person. They said that it's just for the next few hours. Should be an issue. Other than that, lights might also be out. The street lights, traffic lights are fine. Street lights themselves might be out between River and Assiniboine on Main Street. So heads up there. But the sun's coming up, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem. If you see anything else, though, give us a call, 204-788-3093.
All right, so what do we know this morning? We know the first phase of a peace deal, as you've been hearing on World Report, has been reached to end the 2-year war in Gaza. President Trump making the announcement on social media. Trump saying Israel and Hamas have come to this agreement in Egypt. The first phase is his 20-point plan, and that will begin. So what is in that plan? Well, we do know that there are 2 key points. Israel will pull back from Gaza City. There will be a prisoner and hostage exchange on both sides. There will be disarmament of Hamas, and aid should flow. Let's turn to local reaction in our province from people with friends and family and obviously lives lived here that are directly impacted as well. First, we have with us on the show Jeff Lieberman. He is the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg. I spoke to him at 8.
Good morning.
So what is your initial reaction and how did you spend the night absorbing the news?
I am so excited for this news. It's been 2 years in the coming, and it's going towards peace in the Middle East, peace for Israelis, an end to this war, and also, for the people of Gaza, an opportunity for them to have, a much better life. And it's going to take a while for them to restructure. But I think with the American and other countries backing, they'll be able to have a good life going forward as well.
I know this, obviously developed through last night. Have you had a chance to reach out to any other friends, family, to hear what others are saying in community?
We actually had a bit of a community gathering last night at an event, so I was able to talk to a number of people. And the Jewish communities has been waiting for this for a long time. The hostages have been in captivity now for just over 2 years now. It happened on October 7th, 2023, and there's still what people believe are 48 hostages in Gaza, 20 or so that are hopefully alive. And it's time to bring them home as quick as possible. People are really excited for that.
How hopeful are you that this deal will stay intact as we move into the next phase, and what needs to happen to ensure lasting peace between Israel and Palestine? I'm
a half full cup type of person. I'm really hopeful that this will be the end of the war there, and that peace in the region can be established. The surrounding Arab countries are in favor of this agreement. It's important at the end of the day that first the hostages are released, and that Israel is going to be able to live. The Israeli people will be able to live in a safe environment, feel secure. Hamas needs to relinquish their power, and that there can be an election and a democratically elected government be elected in that region, so that the people can be represented well, and that they have a good life as well going forward.
What made this happen, in your view?
Well, I think it all comes down to President Trump and the power that he wields. And things weren't happening until President Trump started to work on this, and really demanded that Hamas needed to agree on many of the issues that they were proposing, and Israel as well had to agree. But I really don't think that anything was happening until President Trump and his team put these proposals forward.
Jeff, anything to add I haven't asked you about on this obviously historic, significant moment here this morning?
Again, I'm just really, really happy that this is going forward. We've been waiting for this day for 2 years now. As you know, 1,200 people were killed on October 7th. 251 people were taken hostage. People don't mention that there's been close to 1,000 Israeli soldiers that have been killed over the past 2 years, and as well as so many innocent people from Gaza. It's time to end the war. It's time for us to move forward and for people to live in peace.
If I can ask you a complicated question, a political question, and you cannot weigh in if you choose to do so, but I know that part of this is Hamas laying down weapons. Should part of this be Netanyahu laying down weapons as well, given the massive destruction we've seen here?
Well, I'd be hopeful that as long as Hamas lays down their weapons and another government governs there, Israel is going to need to go in there and fight. I'm sure Israel is happy enough for them to live in peace and not have to worry about any military into Gaza. Israel is there for peace and for their people to live in a world where they can live safe lives and don't have to worry about rockets being shot at them. And as long as that's happening from the other side, then I'm sure that Israel is happy enough to live their life just like they were before October 7th, 2023.
There's a lot of words I could put on this morning, but I want to know what your word is, if you had to pick one for what you're feeling, just to go back to where we started.
Optimistic.
Thank you, Jeff Lieberman. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Jeff Lieberman, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg. I spoke to him at 8 o'clock this morning. We have other perspectives to hear now. One of them is moments ago, just walking away from a live mic, and Antonio Guterres, who is the Secretary General of the United Nations, addressing the Security Council about phase one of the ceasefire, calling it a breakthrough for diplomacy. And we're going to hear a little bit of what he had to say.
We must never forget the unbearable human cost of this conflict. I mourn all of the lives lost, including United Nations personnel and humanitarian workers, and pay tribute to our colleagues who continue to serve with courage and compassion in conditions of extreme risk. For Israelis and Palestinians alike, this deal offers a glimmer of relief. And that glimmer must become the dawn of peace, the beginning of the end of this devastating war. I urge all to seize this momentous opportunity to establish a credible political path forward, a path towards ending the occupation, recognizing the right to self-determination of the Palestinian people, and achieving a two-state solution.
Again, that was moments ago speaking live, Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations. And his quote, by the way, was a breakthrough showing us the power of diplomacy. So that's the specific quote. It is 8:21 a.m. We continue our live coverage of Israel and Hamas reaching the first phase of a ceasefire deal, that developing overnight. And we continue now with more local reaction. Next on CBC's Information Radio, Louis El Ghul is with us. He's a lawyer, business owner, and father of three here in the city. We've spoken with him before. He likes to describe himself as a human Palestinian Canadian. He also has faced unimaginable personal tragedy. He's lost, he says, 139 family members to this war. And so what is his feeling this morning? We're about to find out. Good morning.
Good morning.
What are you feeling today? What's the word for you?
Well, I'm very hopeful, but also worried about Netanyahu government making up on this deal as they did in previous attempts. I'm hoping that President Trump would have a more stronger stand than President Biden before him when we almost struck a peace deal with some exchange of hostages in the past, about maybe a year ago, and then unfortunately that peaceful and hopeful attempt came to an end because of Netanyahu government. So I'm really hopeful. I was with my family in Gaza until about 4:30 a.m. this morning. But I guess we have to wait and see if Netanyahu government are going to continue to do the same thing they did in the past, or if they're going to abide by these new hopefully peaceful attempts.
We're in a fragile moment. Louis, you said you were with your family till about 4:30 a.m. on the phone or on FaceTime. What was that exchange like?
Oh, well, we had to speak with people from in different parts of Gaza. So it was, some of them are we're all very, very, very optimistic and hopeful that this is going to come to an end because it's just it's a disaster and as the United Nations described it, a genocide. But what's sad is while I was talking to one of them, I could still hear rockets being bombed in areas next to them, and I asked them what's going on. They said it's unfortunately Israeli rockets are still bombing as they're celebrating. So it was disheartening to hear that sound while we're hoping to celebrate. But yeah, I really hope for an everlasting peace in that region, and I don't think it's going to happen if Netanyahu and his government still stays in power, as not just for the Palestinian people but also for the Israeli people who are basically been their freedom and democracy has been stolen from them by that government.
What for you made this moment, at least this phase one of this ceasefire, what made this possible?
I think it's I think it's definitely President Trump and his team pushing this forward. That's for sure. That's a big factor. I think there's also a realization that this is not gonna end in the way that Netanyahu government wanted it to end. They made false promises that this is going to be finished in 2-3 months at the beginning of this campaign. The announcements that they've done, saying that they're going to carpet bomb Gaza, that they're going to displace the Palestinian people outside of Gaza, and so on and so on. All these promises, I think they realize that this is not going to happen. There is a huge resilience in the Palestinian people. There's a big resilience and resistance from the Israeli street as well, inside of Israel, for these actions that's happening, not only in Israel, but I think a big number of the Jewish community worldwide are ashamed of what this government have been doing and have done, and have said so socially. So there's a lot of pressure on everybody, and I think the timing could have been better, but I think it's. I'm very glad that it came to at least this attempt. I hope it's gonna continue.
You may have heard the interview that I had in moments ago here at 8:00, but we played it moments ago with Jeff Lieberman, who's CEO and president of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg, and I posed a question to him about Netanyahu and also about whether or not he should be, as this deal has Hamas lay down arms, what about his accountability in laying down arms. I want to ask you how you think Hamas should be held accountable.
Absolutely, both parties should be held accountable, but we need to know that the pressure cannot be just on the Palestinian people or on Hamas. It has to be on the Israeli government. It has to be on it for the genocide they have done, the destruction that is unseen and unprecedented that they have done on killing not just the Palestinian but the United Nations workers, on arresting and humiliating aid workers and humanitarian convoy coming from Europe by sea and so on, starving the people. That all these things has to be accounted for, and I think the International Court had its say about Netanyahu and some of his cabinet member, and I think they should be held accountable as well. Everybody who have done these kind of acts should be held responsible and liable regardless of which side.
I want to go back to where we started and just ask you a personal question here, because you talked about talking to your family till 4:30 in the morning. We mentioned that you've lost 139 family members to the war. How is your family doing, just in terms of what does their life look like right now? Those that you spoke with last night.
Well, for a very long time, they are definitely homeless. I'm talking about over a year. They've been able to initially to go into other families' homes and so on, but there's over 80% of the homes in Gaza has been destroyed, completely destroyed. So they are in the streets. They have they're living in basically metal walls around them, and they have tarps on top of them. There's no water, there's no clean water, there's no food coming in. So it's definitely it's an unimaginable way of living, but we're hoping that the rebuilding of Gaza is going to happen soon if this goes forward and continues to go forward.
And Louie, what about here, where we live in Manitoba? What's your hope for how we move forward as a community and with our relationships here?
I think we've always, as a people who we identify ourselves as a human being, I think we've always knew what is right and what's wrong and the value of a human life, and that there's no human better than the other, regardless of their race, religion, color, and so on. I think this has been a very tough lesson for us to realize that there's a lot of things needs to be done by us here in Canada to bring justice and peace in other areas of the world. We should not take things for face value. When someone says, I'm the only democratic country in the region, that's absolutely not true. We've seen that, where international law doesn't apply to Israeli government, where the calls for many of the countries and the boycotts and so on is ignored, where people who came peacefully in ships to try and bring aid and medicine were arrested and humiliated. We need to take action to ensure that everybody in the world, not just in Israel and Palestine and so on, but everybody in the world should enjoy similar life standards and freedom and as we do here.
Thank you very much for being with us live on CBC.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Louis Al Ghul, lawyer, business owner, father of 3. He lives here in Winnipeg. He is a Palestinian Canadian. He is with us this morning talking about how he's been up from till 4:30 in the morning connecting with his family back in Gaza. More, of course, through the day. Right now, your local news at 8:30.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is 12 degrees. A mix of sun and clouds this morning, then clearing. The wind is going to ease up, becoming a westerly breeze and a warm high of 19. Well, as you've been hearing, a U.S.-backed plan for a ceasefire in Gaza could be implemented within hours. Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas have now agreed to a deal that will finally end more than 2 years of war. U.S. President Donald Trump helped to broker the deal and spoke last night with Fox News.
The whole world came together, to be honest. So many countries that you wouldn't have even thought of it. They came together. The world has come together around this deal. And that's something I would say that without that wouldn't happen.
Word of the ceasefire reached the streets of Gaza overnight. A group of Palestinians celebrating in Khan Yunis, young men breaking into song, cheering. The deal to end the fighting in Gaza and for Hamas to release the hostages came after 3 days of talks in Egypt. In Israel, celebrations broke out in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square. Families of the hostages singing a prayer for peace. U.S. President Trump will travel to Israel this weekend to mark the historic deal his administration helped reach. You can hear more on this story as it develops through the day right here on CBC Radio 1. Well, the staying of charges against a former Winnipeg fashion mogul sends a message to police. Do better when it comes to keeping records. That from Brandon Trask, associate law professor at the University of Manitoba. Yesterday, a judge stayed sexual assault charges against Peter Nygaard because she determined lost evidence would prevent him from receiving a fair trial. The case stems from an alleged incident in 1993, but police weren't able to produce notes or documents. Trask says Canada has no statute of limitations on sexual assault cases.
If we're taking that approach, and I think we should, the police need to have a records policy that fits. So given the historic nature of not only this case but other similar cases, the police need to make sure that they're keeping records from decades ago.
Trask says this kind of situation is rare, but sends a signal to police to create a policy about record keeping and archives for future cases. Well, backlash from the legal community over Premier Wap Kinu's comments on bail decision. It comes after an Ontario trucker charged in a fatal crash last year was released from custody. The accused had left the country and avoided police for months before returning to Canada. This week, Kinu said he agreed with a Crown argument the release would endanger public confidence in the justice system. Chris Gamby at the Criminal Defence Lawyers Association of Manitoba says the Premier's comments were inappropriate.
It's sort of crossing some lines into what the judiciary does. The judiciary is the ones that are hearing the facts and making the decision. If the Crown prosecution doesn't agree with that, they do have a limited...
So upset because it sounded like October 1st was going to be changes. Deep down I knew there couldn't be a change from September 29th to October 1st.
The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority says it is adjusting shifts so more scheduling clerks are working during the busiest hours. The province is bringing back a popular program to help homeowners and tenants feel safer. Applications for the Manitoba Security Rebate Program have been reopened. People can get $300 rebates for home security equipment like cameras, locks, doorbell cameras, alarm systems, and motion detectors. That program was first launched in June of 2024 to a huge response. The Toronto Blue Jays are on their way to the American League Championships. Last night in New York, the Jays knocking out the Yankees, taking that series in four games, 5-2 the final. Toronto banging out 12 hits, getting some impressive work from their bullpen. Here is manager John Schneider.
The guys went out and did it. You know what I mean? More so than anything, they do a really good job of managing themselves. You know, it's an unbelievable cast of characters that can keep a group level-headed or get a group going if you need to. So a lot, if not all, the credit goes to the players.
The Jays now will face either Seattle or Detroit, with Game 1 set for Sunday in Toronto. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, Corey.
Lisa just called southbound West Perimeter. There's a car stalled in the median lane right at McGilvery there. So you kind of got to sneak around that as well. Southbound Sturgeon between Ness and Portage, there's been construction there all morning. Only buses can get through. That's expected to only last for just a few hours.
Quick look at the weather, Abby.
It's going to be mild and sunny in the southern part of the province, and far north we may see a few showers there. Temperatures will warm up to 11 in the north, and we're going to see 20s in the south.
Thanks to producers Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson, as well as associate producers Chidi Akuma, Jim Agapita, Jenna Badasso, and our community reporter and unit Channelie Vidal for today's show. Also our news department, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, and Josh Crabb out there. And the amazing live team that is Information Radio. I sit here, I look at these three guys every morning, and they're incredible at what they do. Darren Marash produces our YouTube stream. Say hello to him there and watch the show there. Abby Adeyemi, you hear on the air, and Abby's just always rolling behind the scenes. And Corey Funk keeping everything keeping us relevant and quick and getting all these guests to air. Big thanks, Corey, as well. The Current is coming up next.